Welcome, YouTube and Twitchers.
Hello, hello.
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 How are you?
I am good today.
That is great.
Better if my speed keeps going like this. I'm at 45% right now. I'm beating everybody. Holy! Oh, I said put a voice to it. Don't put a voice to things. We have fun with the internet, Greg. It's crazy. Yeah. Greg's flying. Greg's like beating everybody with the upload speed. Nice job, Greg.
Thank God. For once, I'm technologically handling it.
I'm back in the lead.
This is us, just so you know, Greg. That's me singing and Mike playing guitar. Yeah.
I know, it's great.
Thank you. About 30 years old. Welcome to the Chris and Mike Show. I'm sorry, I was going to say I'm Mike. No, he's Mike. I'm Chris. A portion of the show is brought to you by Riverside FM, the one and only choice for podcasting platforms. Remember, we are live on Twitch, YouTube, and chrisandmikeshow.com. So if you want to join us live and listen to Greg Amici and tell. That's the beauty of live, man. You tongue twist yourself. That's what I loved about the radio. I would say something, and I'd mess it up like, fuck, here I gotta start all over, man.
Give me a chance. I'll follow up on that. Well,
hey, boys and girls. Welcome to the Chris and Mike Show. I'm Chris. He's Mike. This is Greg Amici. We're going to be with you for the next hour or so, going live on Twitch, YouTube, and chrisandmikeshow.com.
Nice.
That's my cheesy radio voice. Greg, welcome to the show. You're here.
Welcome,
I think
Greg.
you reached out to us, which is super, super cool.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Mike.
So we're going to go on an elevator ride. You're going to give us a spiel of why you're here, what you're all about, and then we're going to deep dive into your life resume, who you are, and what you're all about. You ready? No pressure. No
Very
pressure,
cool.
Greg. No
Very
pressure.
cool.
Baldwin unite. No pressure.
I'm
Yes! Woo!
I'm hitting it. Okay. So, pressure's on, but not really. I'm
Right.
cool with it. So, singer-songwriter,
Cool.
not a spring chicken. So I'm kind of reviving after having left music for a long time. A couple of years ago, I started recording with James Mastro, who produced me from the Bongos, and Patti Smith and Mott the Hoople. So he produced it. Got great musicians on this album. It's called Tragic Comic. I was actually playing live to promote it, but I just tore 2 quadricep tendons at the same time.
Oh,
So
out.
I'm not able to do anything right now, but
That's a drag.
that's why I'm having fun doing podcasts and staying in touch with people. The music, I don't know, these genres, rock, alternative rock, and love doing it. That's why I came back from I did a 16-year hiatus. I was acting, I was writing, and just like not doing music. Got my master's in English lit, and then I came back, started in 2019. Because of COVID, I was able to get these top-notch guys. The sad part is it was COVID. The good part was that they were there. So we did the album over a course of 3 years, and then finally I felt confident enough to not just release singles, but to do it as a whole album.
Very
Called
nice.
Tragic Comic. I don't know if I said
Nice,
that.
dude.
I'm a suburban guy. I'm from New Jersey. I'm back here now because I inherited this house, so I'm back here. I spent a lot of time in LA, most of my life in New York City, a lot of time in LA, and then I came back here to get my master's in Brooklyn, and that's when I decided my parents were getting old and I had to take care of them. So that's what got me back to the house in New Jersey, and it's on the lake, so I'm happy. As long as I'm on water, I'm happy.
So question, since you're in Jersey, you Giants or Jets?
Giants.
No.
Show him your cup, for Christ's sake.
Unfortunately, see? Unfortunately, I'm also a Met fan, which is the worst combination of Jets and Mets. So Giants, although it's been bad for, 12 years?
Dude, we got some hope.
It's finally some hope. I mean, I grew up during the 15 years of lousy football.
Me too.
So they never won when I was a kid. They sucked.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I'm a Giant fan for sure.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited for this year.
No, I'm excited for you guys.
I think Harbaugh I was worried about Harbaugh in the beginning because he hadn't done shit in Baltimore for 7 years, right? So I was like, okay, really, is he gonna make a difference here? And then when I started seeing all that he was doing off season, how he got the sidestep shown.
Yeah.
Why he's still there, Greg? I have no idea.
I don't know what this was saying. I guess the Maras, they're never comfortable with firing people to begin with. And then they have, that was a perfect opportunity to get rid of both. But because Harbaugh's taken over, it really doesn't matter. It's like
No.
the guy who does the accounting at this point.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So the only thing you hope is that you don't get too hyped up, because the key players were all, backs and quarterbacks and receivers. The line will probably be improved. Still don't know about that defense and secondary for them, though.
Right.
I think they should have gone for it's good they got this tough kid playing guard, but I forget his name. The guy Dallas took right after.
I know. My son and I said the same thing. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
But it looks like he'll be great for them, probably. But you can't know with linemen. You probably get them third or fourth round, right?
I know. You got to build with a line. I don't know why so many teams that struggle for decades don't understand that. Just build with a line.
No,
build the line.
That's a total Giants struggle for decades.
Right. Just build the line. Like, who cares about everybody else? Build the line. You don't have a line, you can't do anything.
Nope. No, you go nowhere.
But they didn't ask us, Greg. Damn it.
Unfortunately, they didn't.
No, fuckers.
Every GM.
Okay, so now we got football out of the way. Okay?
Yeah.
Total squirrel moment.
Okay.
You're into martial arts, you're into music, so let's talk a little bit about the music side of life and where how you got into that and how long you've been doing that, and obviously you said you're not playing right now because of the injury, but let's go down the music path, man. That's why we're here, because we started this thing based on music because we're musicians as well.
I got you. No, I've been listening to stuff about songwriting and everything, so it's very interesting. I started out as a teenager. I was a jock, and I'm so sorry. I don't know why people do this shit to me. I told everybody not to call because I don't know how to turn this off. So
that's how it works.
It's
man.
all good, brother. This is
live.
how
it works. Yeah,
that's part of the charm.
Yeah, don't worry.
But anyway,
good.
Good. I'm glad, because I'm not in my normal room because I can't go downstairs because of my knees. So I'm in the makeshift room.
You're fine, brother.
It's cool. And so started out as a jock. I guess I kept some of that, but I also got into, it's the 70s rock and roll thing. Loved it. Loved the idea of playing. Found out I was never really a good guitar player, or not, wasn't natural to my fingers. My brain heard the sounds. My fingers didn't play them.
Did you start out playing guitar, Greg?
I did. That was the first thing I did. I wanted to be at least a rhythm guitar player and backup singer. Then I took some voice lessons, and I started realizing after a while, I was working with one partner for years, and we just could never get the job done. And I had a teenage band, and then I had a post-teenage band. So finally I took the bull by the horns and started playing myself, writing my own stuff. That's like the mid 80s. And, and I was writing ever since. We had a band called Big Honey in New York in the late 90s. And I thought we had a shot. We were doing the CMJ Music Festival, and it was really cool back then. And while I'm in the middle of one of the songs that's in a lower register, I started croaking. Oh. And I don't think anybody else heard it too much, but I could. And then after I'm all paranoid after the show, so I'm trying to sing the same lines, and every time the air would just come out.
Wow.
So turned out I had a polyp on my vocal cord. I was afraid to get surgery, so I spent 6 months, not 6, maybe 4 months using a palimpsest to contact people. I didn't actually talk. That didn't work, and I got the thing removed, but by then the band was done. So then I went to LA to concentrate on the other stuff, and by the time I came back, I acted in a movie. I told the guy who I knew was a producer and a writer, I said, maybe I could take a shot at writing stuff for this. Wrote a song, did a cover of a song, and I loved the experience again so much I forgot how much music meant to me. Started up again.
Right on. There you are.
That's the whole history encapsulated.
I'm escaping from the scene, but I can hear everything.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. So then, as I said, during COVID, people were available to me that would normally not have been available. So we started recording. The song was called the movie was called Black Jack, the Jackie Ryan story. So I had an idea based on the story. I wrote one song, and then I wanted to cover a song called Jennifer because I'd really liked it. I'd heard it recently, and they had a character in there named Jennifer. Wrote the 2 songs. They liked them, didn't get in the movie. But once that started, the ball kept rolling. I was like, I can't not do this. And I realized I kind of cut myself, I did some harm to myself spiritually, not financially, spiritually, by not doing it for all those years. And I shouldn't even look at it that way. It was other stuff going on in between. And now I'm doing what I love. Fortunately, I'm at the age where I can just appreciate it, not worry about anything, as long as I can keep affording to do it, because, it's going out. but the coming in is a little short. So I'm having a blast.
Yeah, you and I went through a similar kind of path as far as, you know, the other reason that Chris and I started doing this show is we've both struggled with addiction, different kinds of addiction, but
Right.
it doesn't matter what it is. If it's ruining your life, you know, it's ruining your life. And that's what it did to me too, Greg, is it basically music became something that it was fun. Then it was a job.
Right.
Then it was not there anymore.
Right.
And depression set in, and then addiction took over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you described it better than I think I've ever described it. I like how you said, you know, it was lost from you.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt to me too. It was like your best friend was gone and you didn't know it.
You didn't know it. Nah,
something was off in your life. And it was that way for me. And I give Chris a lot of credit. He just kept poking at me. You know, every now and then he would text me with a set of lyrics and say, hey, you know, are you still playing? Can you write me some music? You know, and
see,
he's one of those people that just kind of every now and then just came out of the woodwork, and all of a sudden I started playing again. And just like you described, I got happier. You know, nothing around me changed. Everything was the same. I had noticed it's like, oh, wow, that light was gone, you know?
Yeah, and I think the thing that changed around me is my father at the time had passed. My mother was ailing, and so my whole life's philosophy I didn't have a real life's philosophy. But
how old are you, Greg? Sorry to interrupt.
I'm 64.
Okay, so you got us by a decade. I think Chris is 54.
Yeah, I figured you guys were younger than that.
I'm going to be 53.
I figured you guys were younger than that. Look at this.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that.
No, I thought you guys were much younger. God.
Oh, you're fine, dude.
Oh, stop, man. Jesus. So, I have everybody else put away so there'd be no sound out there. This thing I didn't fix. But anyway, I know what you're saying, but that was an epiphany for me in my life where you treat life almost like as an absurdist. I mean, as absurd, you know, you can't get over the fact these people you were with your whole life are just gone. And if you're very religious, which I wish I were, I wish I were, but I'm not.
I'm not, but music is my religion, Greg.
There you go.
So here's one thing that I just had this conversation with another good friend the other day. When I was a kid and I started playing guitar, I was about 10 or 11. And I would lock myself in the bedroom to the point where my mother would actually make me go out. She would lock my bedroom door and say, go play with your friends. You know, she was worried about my antisocial behavior or whatever.
Right.
But what I didn't realize at the time was that is when I found grace.
Yeah.
The time that I'm playing music, you just heard me before we started recording. The time that I'm playing is the only time that I feel 100% at peace with myself.
Yeah.
Because you're not thinking about anything else.
No. And for me at that time, it was sports. I was just a nuts over sports, playing, watching, all that shit. And so if I let the curse, I hope it didn't.
Yeah, you're fine.
So
I cuss like a sailor, dude.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to calm down with it.
We have tried to get better about that on this show, both of us, just because I think you want to use it effectively. It's not that it bothers me. I find it hilarious that a word can offend somebody. Yeah. So, which is probably why I cuss so much. Because I know it bothers people's spirit. It's like, it's just a word. It's a sound you make with your mouth, you know?
It's something because it's so automatic in me that I have to actually calm down, slow down. But the thing is, for me as a kid, misery would take me right out to a basketball court. And you know, I started out playing guitar when I was in third grade, but the guitar was so hard to play because of the action, my fingers would crack. So, you know, I remember my big hit was when I played the melody to Yesterday in third grade. Nice. That was like the last time I played guitar until I was a senior in high school. And then the bug came in because I got called in to act in a musical or two at the school I was at. I was like, okay, cool. Then I was just like, I love performing. So that's when I said, well, I love performing. I love rock. And I want to be a really good guitar player. And then you learn as you go along what you're good at and what you're not. I'm the average guitar player, but I'm working on it to get better. But as a songwriter, I'm way better than I was when I started. And as a singer, I'm better even now than I was 16 years ago because I studied voice. You know?
I just said that the other day about my lead guitar playing. I was just like you, man. I would have been happy to be a rhythm guitar player that nobody knew who I was. Just the fact I just wanted to be in the band. I wanted to be up there and, you know, be loud and be a part of the show. I became a lead guitar player by default because these guys didn't want another guitar player in the band, or maybe I didn't at the time. I think I was a little vain back then, you know?
Well, you know, you get so tough on yourself and that old, I mean, I full of cliches the last couple of days, but the perfect enemy of the good is what keeps you from doing so much. And then once you kind of accept it, like, oh, I realize now 6 months earlier, I heard a recording and I was much worse than I am now. That's when you get the feeling.
I found out that I was actually good at it. You know, there's times where I feel like now I'm a better lead player than I am a rhythm player, and that bothers me.
Well, yeah, you want to. It's all the Ralph Cramden thing. You want to raise your positives by keep your negatives where they are. So I got it. Yeah, I got it. You want to, and that's why I work a lot on guitar, even though I know I'm not going to be ripping off any solos. At least I want my guitar playing everything in time, which it usually was, but also not playing the wrong chords, which I sometimes do when I'm singing. So that's my goal, is to not do that anymore.
I have to clean a couple things up. I'm 56, not 54.
Enjoy
54 or 55. I was still wrong on both accounts.
You and I have a little bit of the same kind of bug there, Greg, because I went to college to be a writer. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up, was to be a writer, journalism. Right. So long story short, I won some awards, got to do a journalism internship, realized, well, this sucks because I'm not making any money doing all this work. I'm not going to do that. So brilliant that I am, let's go from being a writer, which is a totally struggling world, to being an actor. Woohoo! So did that, did some plays, movies, all kinds of stuff like that. And then I realized one day, oh shit, acting and writing and music all comes into the forefront, especially if you're a singer.
Exactly.
So then I was able to meld all those three together, and Mike and I met each other, and, you know, the rest is history. So same concept, musicals. I can still remember a lyric from the musical I was in, Little Mary Sunshine, man.
Yeah.
Like 30 fucking years ago. I can rip that shit off, you know.
That's not surprising. It's surprising me if you said you remember the lyric you wrote 2 days ago. I can remember those from 35 years ago, 40 years ago.
Right.
Now it's like I got to look at my lyrics that I wrote. And did I write that 2 days ago or 20 years ago?
Well, that goes back with like when we used to rehearse, because we would rehearse. If we played 2 shows a week, we rehearsed 5 days a week. So we were every night.
Right.
But we'd always record our rehearsals on. Mike had a real whatever 4-track, and we'd put on a cassette. And I need that. I need that every practice. He's like, "Why the fuck you need this shit?" Because all I did between practices and shows, that was in my not my AirPods, but my headset.
Yeah.
Whatever I was doing, it was in the tape deck, it was in the car, it was in my Sony Walkman. It's just constantly to where it's just ingraining into my soul. So that way, by the time we ended up playing live, I knew every word I was singing, but then it all evolved when you're doing it live, as we've talked about before, because live is different than practice, and you're feeding off energy, you're feeding off the crowd, everything's sped up because your adrenaline's much faster. So that's how I learned everything. So you're right to your point. I couldn't tell you what I wrote a month ago lyrically, because we haven't put music to it, and I haven't made a muscle memory out of it.
But it.
The stuff that we wrote in 93, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's all because it was, it's all just right there. It's
those melodies are tattooed on your brain.
That's true.
Yeah.
You hear melodies for a song that you'd never recorded and you wrote in your sleep 35 years ago sometimes. Why is that coming up? Well, I better start writing that one.
Right.
You know, it's another thing. But I'm impressed by the fact that you guys, you know, I like it when people really work something before they do it. And then you're able to improvise because you've done the work to begin with. I mean, if you just go in, I could never go half-assed, because even with fighting, I feared humiliation all the time. That was the biggest fear I had. So and it's the same thing with music. I fear humiliation. And so if I won't be humiliated, at least I can't let myself feel like I've been humiliated if I did everything I could.
We set our we set our practice stage or practice space up like a concert stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every practice was, if we were writing songs, we were in that mode, right? So we might be in that mode for months. But when we decided to put a set list together, from that point forward, it was like, okay, here's the set list. Every practice is going to be, we're going to start here, we're going to end here. Chris would simulate, you know, the time that he was going to talk in between. And like we were talking before the show, the fact that he rehearsed so much even outside of practice, when a tragedy would happen, like I told you with the guitar that went bad, and now all of a sudden you don't have a guitar player.
Right.
He didn't even miss a beat. It was like He just carried on. It probably took 10 minutes for that whole thing to transpire.
Yeah.
Might have been 5. It felt like an hour.
Yeah, it wasn't an hour.
But these guys
you're playing live on stage a lot too. Yeah. So you're between the two of those. Yeah. I mean, that's the way to go. I can't stand when people just go and, just they're sloppy about their approach to things. And I have a friend, my guy who plays guitar with me is too anal about that. He wants to know everything inside and out about why did I play a major 7th instead of a major here?
Yeah,
what string am I supposed to be hitting? Yeah. It's his choice. It's not quite for me. I mean, I try to do it, but I don't like get too bogged down either.
I think if you overanalyze what you're doing as a musician, you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
No offense.
No,
my mindset.
I always tell people I know enough theory to get myself in trouble, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to talk a language. Chris and I have our own language between singer and songwriter. You know, as far as music, we can communicate without talking musical knowledge. But if you're sitting with a bass player or a keyboard player and they tell you they're playing in the key of G, you have to have some kind of idea.
Absolutely.
Right.
Unless James Hetfield has said for years he doesn't know the difference between a G chord and a C chord. I find that a bit of an exaggeration.
That's when they say the Beatles didn't know how to read music. They didn't know how to read music, but they sure knew what key they were in, and they knew something about progressions and what went where. So
you have to at least know that.
Yeah. Exactly. You have to read music,
Whether Chris knows it or not, he knows it subliminally because if I start playing a song, he's singing in key, right? So his brain knows what note to go to.
Correct. I just may not know the name of the note. I know where I'm going.
Correct.
Yeah.
I do a lot of my stuff that we did was all by ear, which I didn't realize at the time, but it truly is by ear.
Yeah, you're tuning your voice to the music.
Yeah.
Or you're tuning
the music to the voice.
Or you're tuning your writing to what you hear in your head.
Yeah.
At least you can get it out, the rhythm, the melody you can get out on your instrument, presuming you're competent enough on that, which has always been the good thing. I can write off guitar, no problem. Can even write off the piano a little bit. But do I know? I have to find out later whether it was a major 7th or a major 7th with a second to whatever. And I'm curious about that stuff. It's sort of like learning a language. I'm kind of curious about it, but certainly not going to let it impact how I do things.
Sometimes I never know, Greg. I'm playing chords that I know are like augmented 11th, 9th chord, 7th. I don't know what I know the major chords, the minor chords, and then I just move my fingers from there, I'm looking for economy of motion.
Do you do a lot of open tuning stuff?
I do, yeah.
That's why I could never figure out what you're doing in open tuning.
I like drop D a lot. I like open G and open E because I like to play slide. And open G lends itself really well to playing slide. There's a great story in the Hard to Handle book about the life and the death of the Black Crowes.
I'd heard about it, but
Steve Gorman talks about Rich Robinson basically doing acrobatics on the guitar to make all these chords happen. And the producer just says one day, have you ever thought about tuning your guitar to an open chord? It's good enough for Keith Richards.
Hell yeah.
And the whole sound of the Black Crowes evolved from there. It was just simply, he changed the way he thought because as well as I do, playing in an open tuning, you can put one finger down and hit all 6 strings and you're making, all you got to do is move it a fret or two and you're making all these cool, weird chords that you would never be able to play in standard tuning.
You ever see Richie Havens at Woodstock?
Oh, yeah.
He's just going up and down. He's just playing the bar chord all the way with one finger bar. So, yeah, I mean, it's, I love it because I don't know what I'm doing there. And you get these amazing sounds. I come up with weird tunings by accident that I don't think are often used. Then I'm like, oh God, why didn't everybody use F sharp? It's strange.
You just hit my whole claim to fame. I'm trying to make it sound as complicated as possible with the easiest fingering pattern, right?
Exactly.
How can I get the most out of this one spot that I'm playing in?
Yep. No, you're right. You got to milk it.
And it's simply because I wasn't good enough to do anything different back in the day. That became my style.
And that's so important that you have your own style, which I'd like to think I have with writing and singing. But yeah, I mean, even if it's your weird influences on your sleeve to a certain extent, the sleeve's got to then be rolled up enough that you're doing your own thing. And that's so important. However you learn it, you're not going to get a great style if you're sitting. I was never in a cover band. If I learned how to play
I wasn't either.
Then I don't think I'd be as good, frankly.
And I say the same thing. It was important for me to I wanted to be in an original band. And to me, to do that, I could be wrong, but my mindset was, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to make my mistakes along the way, but I'm going to do it my way.
Mm.
Because in the end, I think Chris will tell you, when you hear me play, you're going to know it's me.
I can already tell. I can already tell because I've heard, like I said, different podcasts. So I can tell. Yeah, I definitely have your own style. It's very cool.
And I appreciate that, man.
Yeah,
I used to get complimented on my tone a lot. And then for my choice of phrasing and lead playing. And once again, it's simply because I had to do the most with the least, you know?
And you are fooling people because your technique seems like, brilliant. So, I mean, the fact that you're playing simpler than it sounds, that's what I would have thought it was very complicated what you're doing. I wasn't really watching your fingers, but I would have thought it was quite complicated.
I'm super proud of my technique, and I don't say it a lot on the podcast because I always want to be positive towards other musicians.
Right.
But there's guys out there who have been doing it for a long time, and you hear them and you're like, man, if you've been doing this for 20 years and that's how you sound, you're never going to get it. And I don't know how to tell you that without crushing your spirit, but
yeah. And you don't want to do that.
No, but if Chris had been singing out of tune for 30 years, I would feel so sorry for him. You know, it's like, the guy thinks he can sing, but
that's where you got to you have to know your own abilities. So, I mean, if I had been trying to play lead guitar since I first started and I still was fumbling around, I wouldn't have kept doing it, Exactly. And that's kind of where I was at. I might have stuck it out a little longer, but I knew then I could write. So that's how it goes. But you got to know if you suck.
And there's so many people that don't. All you have to do is go watch the amateur guys on YouTube.
Yeah.
And I tell Chris all the time, I got to get off my ass and just start recording some videos because I think it would be inspiring towards at least beginner to intermediate players.
Absolutely.
To figure out where that threshold is. I always credit our drummer with taking me over the top. When he met me, these were his exact words. I have never met somebody who can play a guitar so well who doesn't know has no sense of timing.
Oh, really?
It's simply because I never played with a metronome and I wasn't learning other people's music. So I was just sitting in my bedroom jamming along to my little Marshall studio amp back in the day. So when I got to him, I was speeding up and slowing down all the time, and he would just emphatically start smacking the one. You know, he's like, you can only go this fast, dude.
But that's why it took me many, many years. People telling me, got to work with a metronome, because I don't play guitar for the most part in the studio, even if the parts, because I'm thinking that's going to take me so long. And then finally, I wanted to do something on one of these songs, and because I've been using the metronome so many times, it was perfect in one take. So. You really, the metronome is your friend.
Oh, for sure. When you lock into that sense of timing in your mind, you wonder how you ever got by with it. It's like, why didn't I know that?
I know. I hear you. I could go on and on forever on that stuff, but
that's why we're here, man. We're talking music.
Exactly. You're in Mike's geek out zone, man. Like I'm gonna be gone for a couple episodes, and I'm making sure I'm loading him up with musicians so he can just have nothing but musician talk. Because a lot of it because again, I mean, not that I've always looked at myself as a musician because singing is an art,
obviously,
is an instrument, etc. But at the same time, it's different because I just, again, I always kind of sang by ear, whereas you guys are all about, the notes and the tones and the rhythm, all the kind of jazz, all the things, man.
Yeah, I mean,
he had such an adorable language. He'd say, that wheedly stuff that you're doing there. I want a little more of that wheedly before I sing again.
It's taken me a long time to catch up on some of that. Most of it was out of curiosity to make things simpler with other musicians. But no, I'm with you. I'm like, it's all instinct, And then if I can throw a little something of knowledge behind it, or use a metronome to improve the thing that's in my head, that's the reason I'm doing it. Not because I'm ever going to have a grand grasp of theory or anything like that. You can't write from theory.
Right.
I always ask people this simple question. Would you rather listen to David Gilmour's Comfortably Numb solo or anything that Yngwie Malmsteen ever played?
Gilmour.
There's not even,
I love Yngwie Malmsteen.
Not only is that, you picked out maybe one of the best 5 solos in the history of music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. No doubt about
There's
that.
a reason it's one of the 5 best solos in the history of music, because he
Exactly.
poured his soul and all of his emotion into that solo.
So soulful. Yeah.
One of the other top 5 is when Prince joined the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stage and
You're damn right
to
it is.
the guitar Gently Weeps, and just took that on for like 9 minutes just as a big F you Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for just not including me in the top 100 guitarists of all time. I can listen to that thing every day like it's brand fucking new.
That
Because
might be
you hear-
number 1.
You hear, okay, because you hear something different every time you listen to it. It's like you just, and I'm not a guitarist, but I've been around enough guitar players to know, and Prince was an amazing musician, so, but every time that comes across on one-way feeds, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't notice that part.
And how
It's just-
effortless he makes it look.
Right?
Like he barely looks like he's working, for one.
Yeah.
Once in a while his face moves,
Yeah.
do something with his mouth when he's trying to hit one of them big bends. But for the most part, he is playing some of the most complex, melodic, beautiful music ever recorded.
Yep.
And he just looks like he's on a Friday afternoon just hanging out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Musical. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I just, he walked on the stage to do that solo, kept looking at Tom Petty and whoever else was back there like, I'm still going. I'm still going. No, you're not. I'm still going. And then when he was done, he just walked off the stage. It was just,
Threw his guitar up in the air.
yeah. It
We're
was
pretty
just
sure
by-
that guitar's in space floating around in the orbit right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
Well-
just by far the greatest, I think, of any, just walking on stage. Like, here I am. You can't ignore me, but you did. I don't know why.
Well, musical genius is overrated. So many pop people are, connoted or given the attribute of being a musical genius.
Mm-hmm.
That motherfucker was a musical genius.
Yes.
Oh,
he was.
That's no doubt in that. You can
Mm-mm.
you can round out your top 10, but he's going to be number 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D.
Well, what's crazy too, and it's just hearsay, but he apparently had recorded enough material at his studio that he could release a new album every week for 100 years.
Yeah.
But so what does that tell you about the songs that he picked to actually put on the albums? Right? It's kind of like Eddie Van Halen's catalog he has that nobody knows really what he has because of how he, again, hearsay, how he labeled it or
There's no catalog.
right catalog. There's the word.
He didn't put any kind of numbering system.
Right. So it's, how much of that would just, change the industry alone as they released them if they knew how to release that as a full product, which I don't think they ever will because you have too many bittering back and forth between Sammy and Dave because they're both fucking stuck in 8th grade.
Oh, really? So that's part of the problem.
I think so because Alex is being a dick from what I've seen and heard and read, and Sammy and Dave just bicker back and forth because they're children. They're children.
It's funny because I saw Sammy Hagar when nobody knew him. He was always opening up for people at the Garden,
right?
And he loved this song Red. He said, "This is my song Red." And every time he played, he'd get hit with M80s, anything we could possibly imagine. People hated the guy. And I felt so bad for him. I was like, I hope this guy makes it. And then 15 years later, he has that, I can't drive 50. That's, I thought that guy was despised by like every band he played in front of. And God bless him. And he seems like a cool guy. I don't know.
Oh, for sure.
That's so.
John Cougar, same thing. When John Cougar first hit the scene, he was hit on the beer bottles. People booed him off stage because that wasn't what they came to see. A lot of opening acts got destroyed back when we were growing up because you would just get destroyed.
Well, and John was trying to sing this music from the heartland, and you know how that goes over on the East and the West Coast. It's like, get that fucking bullshit out of here.
Yeah, especially if he's playing with Yes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's really going to drive too well with that.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the Yes crowd throwing beer bottles at John Cougar or John Cougar Mellencamp or John. I think it was John Cougar back then, but I could see that. You wouldn't think. Because Yes was such a technical band, right?
Oh, right.
With all their intricacies and harmonies and just all the things.
They knew theory.
Big time.
And how to
Big
apply
time.
it.
Yeah.
How to apply it, yeah.
That's why I can't imagine Yes crowd throwing beer bottles at John Cougar, but you never know, man. You never know.
I saw one of the odd groupings was Jay Giles, Leonard Skinner, and Peter Frampton.
Wow.
Oh, weird.
That's
1977 in JFK Stadium in Philly, which was like, a place where rats were running across your feet.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's like we had a couple of stadiums like that in this area. But I mean, it's like 50% of the crowd was gone when Peter Frampton came on. They were there to hear Leonard Skinner, and they were real raucous. then when he came on, I mean, this was his superstar years, and kind of like, nice response. But I was like, why would they put those guys together? But I guess they liked each other or something.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't work with Leonard Skinner for that reason. They blow him off the stage.
Man, I wore that Frampton Live album out.
Yeah.
I love that album.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
I just saw
this is gonna piss you both off. Never Peter Frampton fan, man. Just
what?
I couldn't get into him. I just couldn't get into him. Sorry.
Part of the timing. I mean, he hit right when I was in prime high school years.
Yeah.
Weed in the swimming pool in a suburb, and Peter Frampton with that spacey thing on Do You Feel Like We Do?
Yeah.
I think it lends itself more to being a talk box. I think that album lends itself to if you were a stoner back in the day.
Yeah, it was so mid 1970s. You think about it now, the guy's wearing a gold lame top and he's about 100 pounds. But you know what? At the time, it worked, and I still like the songs. I don't know the lyrics. I mean, his main strong suit was he was a fucking. Everybody says he's a hell of a guitar player. I mean, Bowie wanted him on guitar for all those.
But you just said it; those were great songs. That's why I find it hard to believe that Chris wasn't a fan.
I just didn't. It wasn't my thing, man.
Sometimes
things you just don't. I know certain things you just don't. You just don't like for whatever reason. I don't know.
But there's bands that you admire, but you still like. You're not into them, but you still think they're great.
Right.
I don't know if Frampton qualifies as that, but it happens a lot.
Yeah.
I just saw a video with that Kenny Aronoff talking about John Mellencamp.
Yeah.
Here's a sad statistic. He said that he made more money. So he's an original founding member of the John Mellencamp band, right? He made more money as a touring drummer for John Fogerty than he ever made nightly for Mellencamp, which is what the interviewer asked him, why did you quit? He said, I'll tell you why I quit.
Wow.
He said the first time I was offered to go out on the road with John Fogerty and I looked at my first paycheck, I went, son of a bitch.
That's what it's supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Believe me, there are a lot of bands or that situation where you think these guys are rich and famous sidemen, but not with the band they're playing with.
Right.
But my point to telling this story is Chris and I saw him, and we both admit that's probably one of the most fun, not only concerts, but fun nights of our lives.
Right.
For real, man.
A lot of reasons, right.
Yeah. And he was one of the reasons. That guy was such a phenomenal drummer.
Phenomenal.
And you think about those beats, some of the, like the middle of Jack and Diane, it's so iconic. You wait for that drum fill to come in.
And you don't know how much is his and how much is Mellencamp's bringing what he wants to the table. But either way, the guy's execution is incredible. And he probably isn't a lot of inventiveness too.
Yeah.
I just find it sad when they don't take care of their members like that.
Agreed. So the story about that show, Mike and I both caught it because we just happened to be looking at Aronoff when he was drumming. I don't remember what song it was.
Yeah, I don't either.
He hit the snare, and you could tell the snare broke. Okay? By the time his hand came up, right? And by the time, I mean, imagine the speed of this, okay? Broke the snare, come back up, hit the snare. It was replaced by his drum tech, perfectly tuned, ready to go. Shit you not. Whatever he's doing, broke the snare. Whoops, there it is. Just Mike and I were like, fuck, did you see that? Yeah, did you see that? And, if you weren't a musician, you didn't see it. You had no idea what happened.
That's a guy who really deserves a raise. Those guys don't get paid for when they pull. That right there should have been, the $20,000 raise if they're making money back then. But
right, but that's the drum tech. So the drum tech's sitting that close to Aronoff.
Yeah.
Right, that fucking close.
Yeah.
Obviously, the whole show. Because he was Johnny on the spot, man. That's like Mike breaking a string, playing a guitar, right? Now, if we were touring stage and shit, that happened, Mike would just turn around, fucking drop the guitar. There's another one right there, because that's what your techs do.
Yep.
But that by far was the most spectacular thing I've ever seen from a tech standpoint. Just
on 2 beats, within 2 beats, he had it back.
Yeah, it was
100%.
insane. It was insane.
That is insane.
Yeah,
we both looked at each other. It's like, did you see that? I'm like,
yeah, it was crazy.
I saw that.
Crazy.
Where was the show?
Cricket Pavilion in Phoenix or Glendale. Yeah,
love Glendale.
And it was, and that was the first time that I saw him live, and I ended up seeing him 3 more times live, and they all failed to compare because he was It was a summer show, but it wasn't super hot yet. But he was in the pocket, like that was in the groove of his
Right.
Oh,
career.
he was in his prime for sure.
Yeah, like there was a point in time. Kind of we talked about earlier about David Roth. You forget the lyrics, just pull the mic away, let the crowd sing. So there's a point in the show where all the house lights came on, and he just stepped back, and the crowd just sang the song to him.
It was
Purposely.
so loud.
Purposely. But that was the thing. It was that entertaining of a show that it made me want to go back again and again and again. And then by the third time we had saw him, it's like, all right, this is fucking terrible. He just, well, part of it's, you don't do concerts outside in Phoenix, Glendale in July and August, man.
Unless you're Steve Miller.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he came out like August one year, it was probably 120 degrees, and shit you not, he played for half an hour. Every song he'd leave stage, because he would dress up. So every song he would leave the stage during a non-vocal part, and come back with a piece of clothing removed, to where he finally was just sitting there with his t-shirt and his jeans because he was just sweating his ass off. So you think he'd learn? Don't come back July and August, John. But what he kept doing, come back July and August.
Yeah, you think he tells booking agent.
Steve Miller said right in the middle of his concert, he said, I need to fire my tour manager because he keeps booking me in Phoenix in August.
That's
there should be no outdoor concerts July, August in Phoenix. There should be none. They should all be relegated to inside venues. It's too fucking hot.
Yeah, that doesn't mean just Phoenix. I mean, in New Jersey.
Well, true, because you got humidity. Yeah,
got the humidity. Yeah.
You know, the only thing is we have what used to be called the Garden State Arts Center, and now I always know the old names, but it's some bank or something, PNC Pavilion or whatever. That's the one place where it's hot, but it's underneath something, so it's not terrible. But any other place, like going to the Meadowlands when you have AstroTurf back in the day.
Yeah.
And seeing bands there, and you feel the AstroTurf coming through whatever they got covering it. Oh God, it sting.
Well, and Cricket has a cover, right? And it has now they have oscillating fans everywhere. Those big ass ceiling fans and stuff. And then you can see in the front of the stage they have a bunch of fans set up for the artists themselves. It's covered, right? The front part of Cricket's covered, like you say, section 100 is covered. So then you get out to the grass where it's all open air. But it's still hot because it's black and it's Arizona and it's July and August.
When it's 115 degrees and you put a cover on something, you're basically just creating an oven.
Yeah, that's scorpions running all over. I imagine at that point, that's just incredible. No, I don't envy the Arizona heat. That's for sure.
I like.
Do you guys still go to concerts, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I do.
Not as many as I used to. Yeah.
Big concerts, because I now I'm like that angry old guy that just I can't stand it when I'm getting bumped into by other people. I'm like, if I'm not playing, let's say if it's in a small place, I don't mind, but like going to a big concert, I rather sit up in the bleachers so nobody will be touching me.
I'm fine with that nowadays, and I would rather see a band at a theater if possible nowadays.
Yeah,
but I really want to go see this Whiskey Myers and Black Crowes. They're playing at an amphitheater up around Chicago. I'd really like to see that show, because Whiskey Myers is a band out of Texas that everybody should go listen to. They're good Southern rock. They're in the same vein as the Black Crowes, which is why they're on tour with them. And they actually wrote a song together that I found last night on YouTube that's really good.
I just got turned on to the Black Crowes recently.
One of my favorite bands, dude. In my opinion, they never wrote a bad song.
Well, I'll tell you, I was never knocked out by that one where you're kind of stuttering song. But
hard
then
to handle?
Hard to handle. But the other stuff.
That's an Otis Redding cover, by the way.
Yeah.
That's an Otis. Yeah, I didn't know that either. But the other stuff, I mean, really, I was amazed because he did. I didn't classify them so much as Southern rock, even though they are Southern rock. But then you hear the elements of the Allman Brothers in there and Skinner, and it's like, okay.
When you listen to the Southern Harmony and Musical Companion album, the one that Mark Ford joined for, it becomes a lot more Southern rock. The first album is pretty much straight ahead, kind of blues rock, more towards the AC/DC,
Right, that's what
I'm going to get crucified for saying that, but if you're a true musician and you understand what I'm saying, the first album, Shake Your Moneymaker, is far closer to a simplistic, stripped-down AC/DC songwriting process.
That's what I thought.
The Southern Harmony, in my opinion, is one of the best albums ever recorded. It's a masterpiece, man.
I'll listen to that cover to cover, because
is it Whiskey Myers? Is that who you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Are they like a major label band? I'm so out of it.
You know how I am. When Mike says something, hey, this band, I'm like, okay, I'll check them out.
Oh, you'll love them, dude.
Now I have the tape. I'll be able to go back and listen to it because I'll probably forget in 5 minutes.
This is here forever
Whiskey
now.
Myers.
What album do you have, Mike?
All of them.
Okay. Wow.
They're one band that as soon as I heard the first song, I downloaded everything that they ever recorded instantly.
Okay. How long have they been around?
I have no idea. Can't answer.
Okay, so one album.
Early 90s.
No, one's from 2016. An album called Mud.
That's when I started listening to them about 10 years ago.
And then Firewater's from 2011. Oh, 2011. Firewater, 2011. Wow.
I didn't find them that long ago. I probably found them about 8-10 years ago.
And they have Womp Whack Thunder, which was released in 2025. That has according to the charting, there's 4 hits on that one.
That's the album they're touring on with the Black Crowes right now.
Okay, so I'll buy that one.
Oh, those guys. I thought you were talking about Black Crowes. I was saying they're 90s.
They had a new album out in March of last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. It's called Happiness Bastards.
Yeah, well, I heard that, there's always some internal stuff there, but I can't believe how much I enjoyed listening to them recently. That's a gem when you find bands or artists that you never knew was in the 70s or 80s, and then all of a sudden you hear something and you start on YouTube, and then you listen to a couple more, like Richard Thompson. I don't know if you know Richard Thompson. That guy's
I know the name.
He's from Fairport Convention originally, folk rock in the 60s. I hadn't known a couple of songs of his, but I started watching him play. He's really legitimately one of the top 10 guitar players I've ever seen. So complicated so not typical what he's doing on guitar, and I just couldn't believe that I'd kind of missed his oeuvre or whatever you want to call it for all those years. The guy is fantastic, and that's the gem when you listen to albums that all of a sudden I'll see on Rolling Stone's best albums of the 1974. I'll look at one that I didn't know, and you find some gems that way.
Well, here's a guy that all three of us are going to know because he was on TV every week. When you talk about the greatest guitar players of all time, nobody ever mentions Roy Clark.
Oh, God. Yeah.
No.
That dude could shred.
Yeehaw.
Yes.
Yeah. And Buck.
Yep.
Buck Owens. Yep.
Yeah. He's got tremendous talents. Yeah.
Jerry Reed.
Jerry Reed.
Jerry Reed,
He's a guitar player?
Yeah.
Oh, he smokes on guitar.
I knew he was a singer,
dude.
but I didn't know him as a guitar player.
He smokes on the guitar.
Wow.
Eastbound down, rolled it up and chucking.
Just
they gonna do what they say.
singing and playing all those country chicken picking licks at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's beyond fathoming, but it's funny too because I was not a big fan of that show. I love their music, but the rest of it I couldn't take. So I never saw too much. I probably never saw enough of it. But I've seen him on guest on other shows. He was fantastic.
I heard something funny last night. I was scrolling through some reels on Instagram, and this guy described Dave Mustaine's guitar playing as chicken picking with distortion. And really, that's what it is.
Interesting.
I thought that's the best description of his guitar playing I've ever heard.
So you have eclectic taste because you kind of like, you know the whole gamut. I'm impressed by that.
This is a true story. In my playlist, you might hear Pantera's 5 Minutes Alone, and the very next song might be Dirty Diana by Michael Jackson.
Right.
There you go. That's great because too many people are, they're stuck in one thing. They don't expose themselves to anything else. And even if it's like a production value, something you hear from, that's why I listen to albums from 2020s because like I rarely find something that really turns me on, but I might find a sound that turns me on. And I'll think about, wow, how can I incorporate that?
Well, I just had this conversation with another friend of mine. It's funny you bring that up. Chris always talks about how in line we are with the universe a lot. About 2 days ago, we were talking about how I was raised as a musician. And I said the single biggest thing that my guitar teacher taught me, other than how to play a guitar, was to not pigeonhole myself into one kind of music.
Yeah.
Because then everything you play is going to sound the same way.
Sound the same, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
see, I grew up on that old school country music. I'm talking Waylon, Willie, Conway Twitty, Dolly Parton, Eddie, what the fuck, Rainy is the Night, what the hell?
Eddie
was his name?
Rabbit?
Eddie Rabbit.
All that
Yeah.
shit's in my playlist too.
Right. So Crystal Gayle, Loretta Lynn, like
Yeah.
all of that old school
Yes.
Charlie Pride, boring ass country that you want to kill yourself after listening to. And then that evolved into like the Eagles like in the mid
Love the
70s, I
Eagles.
think 7, 8. I got the Eagles because we had the 8-track, right? So I got an Eagles
Yeah.
8-track
Yeah.
and then when the record player thing, then all of a sudden I got Kiss and Asia, and it just kind of, so it just, but that's still there. Like one of my favorite all-time country artists is Charlie Pride, just because he's Charlie
Right.
Pride. He sold more records than Elvis
Yeah.
for a period of time, and they wouldn't put his face on the album because he was black.
I know
Isn't
that
that
whole
crazy?
story.
Right. And then, I mean, he was the top, what is it? Well, RCA Records, the number one selling artist for RCA Records for legit a span with him and Elvis being who Elvis was. He outsold Elvis, which is just crazy.
It is.
The whole thing with country music is that it's sort of like, I didn't get it when I was a kid, but then I got to the point. I was so curious.
It was force fed down my throat, man.
But I go back now because then I hear the contemporary country music, and I'm like, that's like rock.
It's
but
pop
it's not
rock.
So great.
It's country.
Yeah.
It's country pop. It's country rock.
Yeah.
We call it country rock, which is great. Nikki and I, my wife, we go country swing dancing, so we like the country rock because it's faster tempoed and you can dance to it. The country music we grew up on, it's the box step waltz because you can't move.
That's
to
true.
it, right?
That's
and
true.
like yesterday, because I have mixes and shit on when I drive around, whatever, a playlist, and I had a playlist that Willie and Waylon were on, and legit. Willie Nelson, if you think about it, he sings in this register the whole time.
All his
Right.
music, you just said it, Chris. It's almost all of it's in 3/4 time, which is a waltz tempo.
Right, but the
1,
reason
2,
why
3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2,
right,
3.
and the reason why those guys can sustain them voices for as long as they do, because it's just on the road again.
Yeah,
Just can't wait to get on the road again.
He's not forcing that note very much. Yeah.
There's no stress.
no melodic leaps.
Nothing.
There's
nothing that's right. There's nothing that's gonna strain your voice, man. You're singing in key at the level that you speak. Which I didn't believe me. I was yesterday years old when I thought of that because I'm like, he came on with My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys because it's one of my favorite songs. I like Waylon's version better, but I was like, motherfucker, this dude never challenges his voice at all. It's all just like this. Like they must have had to turn his shit up in the studio to just overpower everybody else because really in the mix, it's just he's like this.
I never even thought about it.
Think about it. Next time you hear it, man, it's like,
he's totally
I grew
right.
up a dreaming of being a cowboy, living.
It's barely above your speaking voice.
Right. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
What about George Jones though? He moves around, right? And
a little more,
and
a little more, but not a lot. You know, I mean, they do. George, Charlie Rich a little bit, but
Waylon really didn't either. Waylon just had a naturally deep voice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kenny Rogers really didn't. He would falsetto that shit, but I think his voice was so high anyway.
Right.
You know, Alabama, they show up on Denim and Diamonds every now and then for songs, and they, I think, were the first true country pop rock band in the country music era.
I agree.
Right.
But nobody recognized it as that. But they did a little bit of crossover stuff. But once Garth Brooks and Shania Twain came into country, it fucking changed it forever.
Oh, Nashville hated them both.
But you know that. But a lot of the women that are doing it now are they're pretty fucking good. I mean, they because not only can they write a story, but they bring in elements of rock, like Lucinda Williams. I mean, I think she's fantastic.
That's a great name that nobody ever mentions, man.
It's great, and they know they know how to write a story, tell a story, but they also know how to incorporate rock. They know how to use some they know how to throw some licks in there that are from the Stones era, but they don't get the again. They should be heard instead of some of the lose. Well,
so it's funny you bring her up,
others.
Greg, because Mark Ford, who I told you to go listen to in the Black Crowes on the Southern Harmony album, he's her lead guitar player now.
Really?
Yeah, he went through some horrible. I just watched an interview with him last night where he was giving his testimony, which I'll listen to anybody's testimony who's been through addiction because we all have our own, right?
Right.
He went through a horrible, horrible addiction, and I did too. But the thing that we had in common, that you and I have in common, now all three of us have in common, is we lost music along the way. It became something that was a burden instead of the fun that we enjoyed at one time, right? And he used that word, and I said, man, no shit, it was a burden.
Yeah.
And then you resented it, you know? It's like now I resent it because I have this talent, and everyone says that I shouldn't waste my talent and that it was given to me by God or the universe or whoever. And now I feel guilty because I'm not doing it, right? So now I have that guilt that I'm carrying around.
He also resent,
He didn't say that part. That's always been part of my testimony. But long story short, I saw just recently that he's the lead guitar player with Lucinda Williams. And I said, what a great fit, you know?
Great fit, because I don't know his stuff, but I know that Jesus, and yeah, they incorporate a lot of rock into what she does. Sometimes you hear the beginning, you don't know
he's that very emotional lead guitar playing that we said we love. The reason that I wanted to be my own lead guitar player is I didn't want somebody doing too much of what Chris likes to call the wheedly stuff. You know, I like to carry that one note as far as it'll go, right? How much can I wring out of this note before people go, is he ever going to play another note?
No wheedly loud.
And then I know right where to put that next note before people go, enough is enough, right?
And
he's that
experience. Guy. That's experience. And, you know, an interesting thing is because you talk about the addiction and kind of resenting music itself, but also you kind of resent the business a lot. You're like,
a million percent.
I've been working so hard at this shit, and like people tell me I'm good, musicians tell me I'm great, but I'm not getting the love, you know?
Right.
So that's another thing that could throw you into depression with music. And I think that affected me a lot too.
Yeah, it's rough when you practice for God knows how long and you show up and there's 3 people there, you know?
Yeah, it's and you learn to deal with it, but it's just still sucks because you just, you know, there's something about that. What else can I be doing in my life other than looking at, you know, I'm glad there's 3 people there as long as they're into it. If they're just nursing drinks at the bar and trying to survive my show, then it's not so great.
And you know what I always admired about these guys is those questions never came up. Nah. Not once did we look at each other and go, are we doing the right thing?
Yeah.
Right. We knew we were doing the right thing, and we knew people would catch on because we were trying to do something that was so totally different than what was going on at the time.
We started the jangle sound.
There was that going on, and there was grunge going on, and we were trying to play straight ahead rock and roll again. In 1993.
That's what the Black Crowes were doing too. The Black Crowes were one of the bands doing that. Although it was Southern tinge. I mean, who else was like straight ahead rock and roll back then? That was almost all grunge, if I recall, or I started turning to boy pop.
I'll tell you what, the very few bands that survived out of the 80s through the 90s were Guns N' Roses, Metallica, the Black Crowes,
U2.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it get Van Halen, barely.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Man, it gets touchy after that.
Yeah. 70s. Some of those, I think like a couple of bands that I don't listen to so much, but some of those dark, like those goth bands, I think a couple of them have had tremendous, like, I forget the names of the bands. Like one used to be Joy Division, they became something else.
Oh,
but I think a couple of those guys are still, you know, you'd be surprised how much they fill out. Other guys, I'm always amazed when there's somebody that never gets played on the radio, and they're like they consistently get like Phil Madison Square Garden up. Guys like that, but that was pretty much you're right. Whereas in the 70s and 60s, you could come up with 100 bands that are still getting, you know, hundreds of bands that are still playing and still beloved.
Yeah, there's not many bands that survived out of the 80s through the 90s. That was like just such a stark transition, and we're going from one thing to another.
Oh, Pearl Jam, they're still real big.
I still consider them one of the originators of the transition.
Right.
Yeah, but Pearl Jam to me Eddie Vedder went too woke and too left and just, dude, shut up and just fucking play, because that to me is more
something happened after the Vitology album. We say it all the time.
Yeah, they changed, and you can't. I get that you want to change, you want to evolve, you want to grow musically, right? Because every band does that. U2 was I think the best example of that, of continued success by changing what they did. Like they fucked with everything. They fucked with the production, the studio. They evolved every single album to some level. Now, you know, I don't like all their stuff, but there's, you know, because again, being a vocalist and a lyricist, first a lyricist because I wanted to be a writer. So I was always drawn to the words. So when Pearl Jam first came out, I didn't necessarily like Pearl Jam, and then somebody brought the cassette to work, and I opened it up and I read the lyrics. And I'm like, oh shit! And then I started playing it more and more, and then it started hitting me lyrically. This is fantastic, right? So U2 was the same way, and I didn't really care about Bono's politics and shit, but I liked how he delivered his message live. Yeah. You know, there's the song "Bullet the Blue Sky" that's live. He has that little rant about this stuff going on. He's like, you know, am I bugging you? Don't mean to bug you. You know, okay, Edge, play the blues. That was just badass, man. Stuff like that, you know. The God I believe in isn't short of cash, mister. You know, it's just it's these little innuendos and these little lines that he would fill the space with. That kind of what we talked about earlier. We would practice like we were doing a show, and legit, this is where I'm going to introduce the band. So they knew throughout our set. After the third song, this is what I do. After the fifth song, this is how I open up. This is I'm going to give a picture of beer. This is what I'm going to do here. So it wasn't always scripted, but they knew there was a space I was going to fill.
We were putting on a show. There was, there has to be. I agree. Chris just said it best. There was no structure like night after night. This is exactly what happens. But we knew we had to have an outline, right? Just like this show, there's an outline, right? Yeah. Basically, this show is chaos, but there has to be a little bit of an outline so that we know where to start, figure out where the middle and the end are, right?
Goes back to rehearsing.
The show was the same way. He just described that very well. Yeah. One thing that I would like to say about U2 is they might have had one of the best rhythms, whether you like U2 or not, they might have had one of the best rhythm sections in rock and roll history.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because you were talking about I don't, if you want to write a political song that's a good clever, it's between the I mean, even though it was pretty upfront, I think Ohio's a great song.
Absolutely.
Here's some of these guys doing like stuff now where it's just like they're preaching and it sucks. It's not craft, and you kind of ruining your craft, your reputation as a great artist because you're just fucking yelling at people.
Thank you.
I can't take it.
Yeah,
well, there's another.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's another guy that doesn't get mentioned as a great guitar player, but name me another guitar player other than the Edge and Tom Morello who have taken the guitar to a different place where nobody thought that that's how a guitar was supposed to sound, right?
So you're saying Edge and Tom Morello.
I'm just saying those two guys are, they were innovators of a new sound, even.
I mean, I don't think he could keep up with a fast lead at the Edge, but boy, does that guy have music in him.
And he admits he never wanted to be that kind of guitar player.
Oh, thank God.
I really gave the Edge his due is when they put that movie together. It's called It Might Be Loud. It's Jimmy Page,
great movie.
Jack White, and the Edge. Right. Jimmy Page wanted to talk to Jack White and the Edge. It wasn't that the Edge and Jack White wanted to meet Jimmy Page. They met him 100 times. Right. He wanted to do that movie with them because, in his opinion, those two people basically took music to another place. True. And that was always Jimmy's vision was,
it's true.
How far can we push the boundaries of sound before it gets out of bounds, right?
Yeah. No, that's so true. That innovation is more important sometimes than literal skill set. And God knows we all wish we could be the first to do something. Those actually are guys. I don't know too much about Tom Morello, but I know his sound. I get it. And that's right. Eddie Van Halen is so...
Eddie Van Halen himself has said, if I wanted to become the greatest guitar player in the world, I would have tried harder. I wanted to write good songs.
Right.
So, I mean, it's doing what you're, as we talk back, goes all back to that, doing what you're going to do to please yourself and what's innate in you, and then maybe making some adjustments. But then if you start trying too hard to ape somebody, you're going to be a good wedding band player, but that's about it.
Yeah. In the process of becoming, or in the process of trying to get the best tone and write the best songs, Eddie Van Halen became the best guitar player in the world.
Right.
Exactly.
It happened by default, not because he was trying to be that.
And the fact that he found sounds, that the greatest skill he had more than his playing itself was the sounds he found, like Hendrix.
He was an innovator.
Sounds. That's what's so innovative about it.
Eddie was a master innovator. Even Eric Clapton, who did not like Eddie Van Halen's guitar playing at all, and it broke Eddie's heart when he heard him say that. Yeah. Even Clapton himself said, you cannot take away from the fact that the guy was an innovator.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think I'd heard that about Clapton. To me, the first guy was Jimi Hendrix, and then Page, because Page was so good as a producer too that he brought a lot of that to his productions. And then after that, I mean, as far as guitar originals, I don't know who was like great guitar players, but who really until Eddie Van Halen from that point to Eddie Van Halen, I can't think anybody who's that unique. You know, it's really from Jimi Hendrix to him, with Jimmy Page in between, because he did so many other things to affect the music.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people. I usually use the same timeline you do. I say Hendrix, Page, Van Halen, but there's people that will argue that Page was, like you said, he was a great producer and he was a great songwriter and he knew how to get the best sounds out of the studio. But as an innovator on guitar, that's arguable. I think he was.
Yeah,
I do too. But there is no question that when you go from Jimi Hendrix, who basically went from the big band sound to now all these parents and grandparents were like, what the hell is that sound?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Eddie Van Halen had that same what the hell is that sound kind of approach. Sure. Randy Rhoads as well. Randy took classical guitar into the rock world.
I don't, he's the Black Sabbath guy, right? I mean, I don't know too much about him.
He was Ozzy's first solo guitar player. Yeah.
And I've heard so much about him, but I never listened to a lot of his solos specifically. Is there anything I should be listening to hear the innovation?
Definitely the Diary of a Madman or the Blizzard of Oz album.
Okay. I have Blizzard of Oz. I haven't really checked it out in a long time. Yeah.
The solo in Mr. Crowley.
Okay. Mr. Crowley. That's right. That's an interesting concept, that song.
You'll hear the genius in his solo playing in that. Those two albums, just the crafting of the solos, instead of just being off the cuff, you can tell that he put a lot of thought into each individual passage and where it needed to go.
Yeah. No, I've heard so much about him. And, it's weird how certain things fall through the cracks where everybody knows a guy, but you don't really know him. And then you're like, you don't know this guy? Everybody knows this guy, and then somebody doesn't know them.
That's the beauty of music to me, man. Yeah. I hate when someone goes, what do you mean you don't know who they are? It's like, I don't know who they are. Let me check them out. I might. And that
really took off after, the end of really AM radio. I mean, AM radio, you'd have everything would be in there that you get a taste of everything. Whether it was a obscure band to the pop audience, they still might have a hit. Then that's how people knew it. Once that ended, there was no universal music thing. And that was in the 90s. Because hip hop would go off. If you look at a Billboard chart in the 90s, I wouldn't know what the hell's going on. But if you look at one up to 80, say 88, it all made sense how things did R&B and rock and even some back then some early hip hop, how they all went together and it made sense. After that, it's like whatever genre you're particularly into or whatever you're exposed to. That's why I keep trying to be exposed to more stuff. Because, the value is just somewhere it seeps in,
Have you heard Billy Corgan's conspiracy theory that it was actually planned to kill rock and roll and that's when rap took over?
I haven't heard that and I don't know that. I love his playing and I think he's a real interesting guy, but I did not hear that. And
I just saw a clip of him talking about that, basically.
I mean, did he mean it kind of metaphorically or did he mean literally?
No, he means literally.
Wow. I got to hear that. I won't say anything about it till I hear it, but I got to hear it. I'm very curious.
He's saying in the late 90s and early 2000s, there was a planned, conscious effort by whoever to kill rock and roll. And the only thing that you can say that's true is it never did make a comeback.
True. And what I really killed it was and there is something to that when they brought in the boy bands. That was an intentional, total misdirection. So once that came in, then all of a sudden pop and rock were kind of indistinguishable and it all became pop. So there's truth to that. I don't think it was, I think it was, they were just like, all right, what's next after grunge? I don't think they thought, well, rock will be dead forever.
Right.
It turned out now rock genre.
There's this K-pop band out there now, BTS, that's bigger than the Beatles.
Yeah. I
can't believe
well, I think about it though, but think about what the world is now compared to when the Beatles came out, right?
True.
You didn't hear, you never heard anything like the Beatles. Right. Yeah. And that's all, everything now, especially with the kiddie, boy band, not kiddie, but the boy band candy ass pop rock shit, it's all what they look like. The music is second. Yeah. It's the appearance, it's the image, it's what they're wearing, it's how they're dressed.
But the one thing I will say about these guys, because I had a friend get me into them, I didn't even know who they were. And then when I started figuring out who they were, I'm like, holy shit, these guys are bigger than the Beatles. I went and I started listening to their music. The reason they're bigger than the Beatles is because for basically calling them a boy band is kind of an insult because they're super talented. Their music is amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that. I do know that once that kind of, what really killed rock, I think, was the corny dancing in those late 90s videos. Once that stuff,
Billy Squire.
I'm not Billy Squire. I mean, like poor Billy.
That killed his career.
Don't regret that forever.
It totally killed his career.
Yeah, but he knows it. But I'm talking about more like once the boy band started those. I mean, it started with Jackson.
NSYNC, Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, when they started those coordinated dances, and young people or teenagers are actually into that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I've lost. It's all over, Rover. It's all
done. I'm done. Move along.
It's like we were into Metallica and Megadeth, and you're into NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. We are not the same.
Right. There's something disconnecting here.
They're all holding hands at the Grammy Awards or whatever. And it used to be, when I was a kid, if you got a Grammy Award, you were a loser. Right. The Grammy Awards, and now everybody... I hate to be the old guy with the kids on my lawn, but get them the fuck off my lawn. I can't take it for long.
Yeah, that's funny. So how'd you get into the whole martial arts thing, man? Because I again, you Brazilian jiu-jitsu, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think sometimes that's kind of put up there because I guess it's not always. Nowadays it is. I mean, some of these guys, like the guys from Biohazard, those guys are all, veteran jiu-jitsu guys. There's a lot of guys now who've trained. I happened to come along at an interesting time. I'd done martial arts on and off since I was in 7th grade. So I'd been around, and then I go to jiu-jitsu, and because that was right after the first UFCs, and I was like, wow, I don't know that. Yeah. So I don't know, because I had been bouncer for years. I was like, God, what if I got in a brawl with somebody like that could grapple that way?
Right.
And I was fortunate. I never had to go to the floor. But then I saw that and I was like, I got to learn this. So then it was really, I was terrible at first because I really have a good understanding of patterns.
Right.
And if you put me in a maze, I'll get lost. I will not come out of there. Okay. So with jiu-jitsu, as compared to either boxing or kicking, it's pretty easy to figure out. You just have to get good at it or not. But jiu-jitsu, it's all these patterns and putting these 3 moves together. And I had just been, I was up for Golden Gloves. I was going to fight in it. And then this guy, huge guy, when we were just getting ready for when the whole gym was getting ready for goals, they had me in with this guy, and this guy kicked the living shit out of me.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, I didn't go down, but it was like something like Cool Hand Luke. I didn't go down, but this guy was killing me. And so I said, fuck it, I'm not doing the Golden Gloves. I'm not going to be humiliated like that. Turns out the guy won every fight within 10 seconds, then went back to jail where he'd been fighting his whole, for the last 10 years.
Wow.
So the lesson I learned from that is I quit on that. I didn't want to go through it. Guys are winning the Golden Gloves. I was actually, in their league. So then I was like, okay, I'm never going to quit something like that again. So I stuck with jiu-jitsu. Hearts was cool. I was getting beaten by 15-year-olds. And then all of a sudden, after 6-7 years, it clicked. And after that, it just got easier and easier. So that was my whole, and I just stuck it out. And I love the club, being in that club. But that's changed too. Then as I got injured more, the last 10 years, I've been sporadic in training. And then people don't know you like they used to know you. It used to be a club. And the guys I started training with, some of these guys became UFC Hall of Famers.
Wow.
In fact, one man, the guy who coached me in one of my fights is Matt Serra.
Oh, wow.
He's a UFC Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
and it was kind of cool to be coming up when all these guys became, big. That's fun. That's the fun thing to look back on.
So are you a black belt, Greg?
Yeah, I got three of the stripes on the black belt. Yeah.
Wow. Sweet.
Yeah, I wish I could, like I said, by now I should have more, but I don't give a shit about that. I should probably not even point it out that it's 3. I really don't care about that.
Well, let me ask you this, because now I'm curious, because I listen to a lot of MMA guys on Rogan, of course. I'm fascinated at how smart a lot of these guys are, and it makes sense because you said, Rogan describes jiu-jitsu or MMA in general as high-level problem solving with dire physical consequences. I love that description of what MMA really is.
Yeah, you watch, so MMA well, like Danaher. I mean, he was my buddy, so he's a scientific.
I know all those names.
And Gordon Ryan, him from jiu-jitsu, right? He's like that kid. He came into our class when he was 15 years old.
Wow.
And I'm thinking it was the first time there. And look at this kid, and he had a kind of scowl on his face, but I was like, what's a kid gonna do? I give him my arm, and after he starts taking it lower and lower, he cranks it. I'm like, the kid could have broken my arm. I actually had a tap to a 15-year-old who never been in a class before. And then this guy winds up going so fast and getting good. So, and that's kind of exciting too, when you're with the beginning of somebody's career who winds up becoming, and that's happened with a lot of guys that I was fortunate enough to be around. Last 10 years, I've been injured a lot. So I get in sporadically, but I can't wait. I'm still hoping, because they said after these 2 torn tendons, that it's like, this has ended careers for a lot of basketball players. I'm hoping I can get back to jiu-jitsu. I fear right now, if somebody took my legs even a year down the line, I think that'd be something I'd be scared of. Although now I only roll with people who know I'm an older guy and aren't going to try to fuck me up to begin with.
So once you get your black belt, my question was, how do you test for the next levels? What is that? I don't understand. What's higher than a black belt?
I'm back in the day when I was one of the first Americans to get a black belt, I think.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Not because I was anything special, but because it was earlier in the times. And they used to give you belts depending on when they felt like giving you a belt.
Sure.
Oh,
you were a dick if you were trying to get a belt. And then some guys made that kind of mistake where they try to get a belt and then they wouldn't. And then they hand it to somebody who's worse than him because they're like, fuck you can't be a belt lover. So that was how I grew up. And then when they just handed to me the black belt one day, I was like, great. And ever since then, somebody would come up and say, hey, you're due for a stripe, and put it on you. That's how it's no testing. If they had to do testing and shit like that, I probably would have quit. The reason I love jiu-jitsu versus like other martial arts, like karate and stuff like that, is I don't want to fucking bow to somebody. I don't like that shit. I don't want to sweep the floor afterwards. That's not. I'm in there to fucking pay you to show me something, and you don't even have to worry about exercising me to death. It's my problem if I come in and I'm not in good shape. So right. I like the fact that at the beginning of that, now it's changed, but the beginning it was like all like, get in there, we're going to teach you 2 moves, and you're going to roll from the day you start. And you get killed, and then you learn.
Yeah.
So, but the belt you never worried about.
So it's basically just a merit increase. It's not something you're thinking about as a jiu-jitsu artist.
No, it just either happened or it did.
Okay.
Now it's different. Now
I kind of like
now
that. I like the merit increase.
Oh,
and see, to me too, that kind of shows the dedication that you have to it, because not everybody's going to get a black belt. You have to work towards that, which means you have to put the time in to get to that level.
Yep.
So like Jake, my son's a Marine, so he's the Marine Corps, I forget what they call it, but the Marines have their own type of martial arts, and he worked for a year to get his black belt in the Marine Corps' martial arts, which I'm sure has a lot to do with how you kill somebody with your hands, which is cool. But it's still a level of something that he attained by dedicating his time to it, because you didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
You weren't required to do that. It was something that if you want to do it, okay, you can do it. So, now am I going to spar with my son? Hell no.
Well, that's the other thing that you have to reckon with sometimes. It's your son, so it's different. But these kids will want to, roll with me or whatever. And I'm like, dude, don't do this to me. Don't do that to me. Now I'll be telling everybody, don't fucking touch my legs.
Right.
And most of the kids are very cool and very nice. But once in a while you get somebody like that, and that becomes a problem. But not often. Most of the kids respect you because you've been around. They know, that you've been around and all that shit.
Sure.
But I think it's great. Getting the Marine skills you have, because you're working with weapons too. That's so important. I only started the recent years from bouncing. I'm surprised I never got stabbed. I never had any. But if I had to do over, I used to bring a police baton with me, because if I had to knock something out of somebody's hand, I could, even though that was illegal.
Right.
But now I'm glad that I really know how to use a stick and a knife. The guy who's training me in stick and knife, he's a Filipino guy. If I had ever been attacked by a guy like that with a knife, I would have been like one of those cartoon characters where all bits and pieces of your body fall off at the same time.
Right.
You take shit for granted sometimes. I was lucky. I never got killed doing bouncing, because I was at some bad fucking spots. But
well,
I was lucky.
You just described it when you were talking about being a bouncer and seeing what could potentially happen. What and the skill set that you possess, that makes you different than everybody else. And, I don't know that. Like, we might be the exact same size, and if we're going to throw down, I'm screwed. You're going to kill me. That's one of my favorite Rogan episodes, and I wish I could remember the comedian that was on there. He said, and he was kind of mocking him. He's like, explain this jujitsu stuff to me. And he said it just like that, and Joe's like, what do you want to know? He kind of gets, just like anybody would, you get a little offended when someone's coming at your skill set. He's like,
well, like professional wrestlers,
he said, explain it to me, tell me about it. And Joe says, what do you want to know? He's like, in a real world application. And Joe's like, oh, okay, you're going to ask that stupid fucking question. He says, in a real world scenario, I would grab you by the throat and I would squeeze you until your brain didn't function anymore.
Yep. That's it. Or eye pokes. I mean, all that stuff. And that's the
He's
thing
like,
too.
we're not the same, dude.
Yeah. I got cocky about it at some point. I was so relaxed. It was like swimming in water when somebody would be a problem. And then once I got a guy where it was on PCP and when nuts, we wound up in the middle of Hollywood Boulevard going at it. And I got him down and I was choking him out, but I failed to turn him over because I was fucking finished. The guy bit the bottom of my nose off.
Oh my God.
You learn, got replaced with a piece of my ear, but you learn at that point that you're never in a situation where you can just let your guard down. So lesson learned. And now as I get older, I'm constantly aware of shit. I don't look for and never look for trouble, but I will let somebody say stuff that I would never allow before. Not if it's too personal, but I mean,
but you're prepared for the worst case scenario. Just like now, Jake, let's say, God forbid, he ended up in a war theater and now his weapon is not effective anymore because he's 2 inches from a guy's face. If that guy doesn't know martial arts, Jake has that 90% edge, right? That guy would have to get incredibly lucky to take Jake out.
And the reality is, so many people know martial arts now. I mean, it's not like when I grew up and, Bruce Lee and karate chops and shit like that.
Bruce Lee, David Carradine, Chuck Norris were the 3 people that were synonymous with martial arts. That's it.
That was it. And it was, there was a lot of bowing but not with Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was kind of the first guy to take it out of the realm of bullshit. You didn't have to learn forms with him.
Rogan always credits him with being the first guy to really invent MMA because he was trying out all these different martial arts. He wasn't just concentrating on karate or whatever.
By the way, I don't want to be a dick about the karate thing. You're learning some stuff, and some people really like the discipline and they like to do all that. I mean, God bless them, and they get very good. I mean, there's some Tiger Schulman fighters that came out of karate, like hardcore doing kata and all that. They're great fighters, but it's just, you have to know, again, it's for you. I didn't like that whole aspect of bowing and learning how to do a high block. And if it's not like at this height or if it's at this, what the fuck is that? I'm not going to do a high block. So, but God bless them. I mean, also I wasn't good enough. I mean, I couldn't do the perfect high block. So these guys get their high blocks great. God bless them. So
you just said it. Some people do it. Like our drummer took Taekwondo for discipline. It was a mental focus thing for him, and apparently that is a good discipline for learning, or that discipline is good for learning other disciplines.
Well, Taekwondo is particularly good because, like me, I mean, I could never throw a high side kick or anything. If I had started out with Taekwondo, I maybe wouldn't have been able to throw it to the side over my head, but I would have had more flexibility than I do. I think Taekwondo is fantastic to start out with.
And that's what Rogan was a champion in. And I'm sure because you're into it, they credit him with having the most powerful kick in the business over anybody.
Rogan?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He taught George St. Pierre how to do a spinning back kick.
ESP? It's funny, especially once I was too old to even consider doing it. I don't watch it much anymore. I don't know who's who, what's what, but that I know he's for real.
I'll blow you away, Greg. I only know these people because I've listened to him on the podcast. I don't really watch I just know the guys from being on his podcast.
From the podcast. Yeah. He's got a great podcast. Yeah.
I'm just not into, I'll watch it if it's on, if a friend likes it or whatever. It's not something I'm going to gravitate towards. Violence isn't my kind of thing. I respect what they do, but I love to listen to them talk. I love to listen to anybody talk about their own skill set, right? What they're good at.
And again, I hope I'm not boring you with that shit because I know
No, Chris asked the question. We just went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I never stopped.
It's all good.
When I hang out with jujitsu people or something like that, and it's not anything about conversation we're having at dinner, is nothing about jujitsu. I can't take that either. It's like, you do it, you enjoy it, whatever, it helps you out in some way in life. And it's fun to tell stories. Like the fun story about getting my nose bitten off. That was actually an interesting story. But it's just to talk about high blocks or whatever. It's too much.
I'm more fascinated with, and I think what gravitated me towards these interviews with the MMA guys was I'm more gravitated towards the journey to that.
Yeah.
You know, how you became that black belt and what inspired you to do it. Like you just described, you said I was a bouncer and I saw that my life could be in danger because this new art form was out that everybody's kind of getting into and it's starting to catch on. And if one of those guys takes me to the ground, my life could be in danger.
Yeah. Going before that, like what made me start? Oh, I was embarrassed and humiliated as a kid. People would pick on me. 95% of those guys who wind up doing, not now so much because it's something they start with on TV, but anybody who started in the 60s, 70s, 80s, I can almost guarantee you that 90% of them had been humiliated or beaten up at some point.
100%.
That's what got them into it.
They didn't want to be bullied anymore.
No, I mean, you know, it's just you had that draw that line. And I was a nice kid. Now it's different. Kids don't bully like they used to. But when you grew up, if you're a nice kid, you're fucked.
Me too.
You know,
I was in the same boat, dude. I always wanted to try to keep the peace, you know. It's like, can't we all just get along? And there was always that one kid that just couldn't get along. He wanted to just poke at you.
It's funny now, too, when you go to a high school reunion, some guy who picked on you is like, oh, you know, I'm sorry about that. What happened when I put chapstick on your glasses 50 years ago?
You know what I did? I got bigger friends than the bully.
That helps too. That helps too. As long as you know that you have an older brother or something like that, that shit helps out a lot.
I was the oldest, so I just had to seek out older people. Like some of my friends had older brothers. I would buddy up with them. And if somebody was picking on me, I'd be like, you know, I know so-and-so, right?
Where are you from exactly?
I'm from Pontiac, Illinois. It's in the middle of a cornfield.
Really? Okay. Because I thought you're more south, but that's interesting because yeah, I mean, you know, you grew up in the South and you got some boys that maybe don't even have skill sets as fighters. They're so fucking mean and nasty that they'll do the job anyway for you. So that's interesting. Yeah, Illinois. And you're from Arizona originally, Chris?
No, I'm actually originally from Illinois, from a small little town called Pleasant Plains, which is about 20 miles south of Springfield. So Mike came down here in the 90s, and that's how we met, and that's how we created the band, all that kind of jazz. And then, you know, through life, he ventured back to Illinois.
I wasn't going to find any record labels in the middle of, there's 12,000 people that live here. So I knew I had to go somewhere and I was going to go to Los Angeles. This is how things just work out in the universe. My mom pleaded with me to move to a place where I at least had some family, and my aunt and uncle lived in Arizona. So I moved close to them, and then the rest is history. I met him at a Candlebox concert and we started a band. And
so you didn't know each other as kids. You just happened to both be from Illinois.
We just both happened to be at the same Candlebox concert one night, dude.
Wow, that's wild.
And he was standing behind me singing along with the band. And
you said you sound good?
He sounded great. He thought I was annoying the shit out of him.
Because he kept turning around looking at me like, shut up, motherfucker, look on his face. And then the band actually, the stage went out at the ballroom, which it often would do. And as soon as the stage power went out, you know, and kind of the house lights came on to fix the shit, he turns around with this business card he was a Desperate Angel, like he was booking the band. The band was called Desperate Angel at the time until I changed the name. And so he's like, are you a singer? I'm like, yeah. And there you go. That's all it took, man. I mean, that's all it took. And then we hung out a couple days later, me, him, and Scott, and had some beers at a bar, went back to Scott's place and just jammed. And, you know, I walked in the door with I don't know, what do you call it, like a satchel with 1,000 different poems and lyrics and shit. And they're like, okay. And that was all it took. It was one of those things, looking back on it now, we were meant to be there. We were meant to be. He went to the show by himself.
Yeah, I wasn't even with anybody.
I was with Nicky, and I just happened to be standing behind him. And it was Candlebox's first tour.
That first album blew me away, Greg. I was like, I couldn't find anybody to go, and I'm like, fuck it. I got to see these guys, because I always wanted to know when an album is that good. I'm like, can they pull this shit off live? I had to know.
I hear it, and it's just interesting that, you know, so your initial sense was that he was kind of a dick because he was singing loud?
I thought so. I thought this long-haired dude keeps looking back at me when I'm singing, because at the time I was in sync with Martin, man. Like everything he was doing, I could do. That was my range. So I wasn't out of key. I wasn't flat. I wasn't sharp. I was just, he'd start singing fucking far behind. I'm right on with him. The whole thing.
That kind of voice is what I was looking for. To the music that I was writing.
Right. And I could
It's
probably
also-
hold my, because I had this, my superpower from a singer. I can hold out notes for like 45 seconds. Like, I mean, I could hold that shit out in key without breaking, without cracking.
God
So
bless.
when Kevin would hold his shit out, I would hold out a little bit longer. And those are the kind of looks that he would give me, like, you know, just kind of like motherfucker. But he wasn't, it
thinking,
wasn't a
this could be
motherfucker.
good.
It wasn't a motherfucker. It was like a holy shit, this fucking guy, which I wasn't reading it like that because I'm just fucking love Candlebox. Like when Candlebox first hit the scene, man, that was it for me. I'm like, first fucking note of Far Behind. And then when I listened to the whole song and then I went and bought it so I could see the lyrics, I'm like, that's it. These
Blossom,
fucking guys.
Change, Arrow.
These fucking guys. Just because, I mean, it's just nonstop. And they came out with Someone Got an Arrow. And that was the first song that was just fucking powerful rocking. And it's, you know, and so I started singing that, and that's when the looks started coming, and I'm like, wow, okay, interesting. What the fuck?
Well, can you imagine what this? You guys would probably not be together now if you had said, "Who the fuck are
wouldn't
you
have been.
looking at?
No,
What are
we
you
wouldn't have
fucking
been.
looking at?"
That's
Which
what I'm
is-
saying. That's that thing. We were meant to be at that place in that time. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about the world and the universe and all that kind of shit, right? But in the moment, you don't think like that.
No.
So
No.
we were Creed before Creed was discovered. That's who we were because we were in the Jim Blossom's Refreshments,
Right.
kind of I call it Timpy Jingle Jangle shit. Dead Hot Workshop. That was what was
but at
being
the same
discovered
time,
in Arizona.
Nirvana.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Which is definitely
Right.
my cup.
he's
I'm a
talking
Jaguar.
specifically Arizona.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm talking. This was the Arizona sound, so we
Correct.
weren't. There was no grunge in Arizona. It was I called it Timpy Jingle Jangle because it was just fucking candy ass pop rock.
Right.
I would say that on stage. Like
He
I wasn't shy, man.
That's
So
funny.
we'd play with, you know. Anyway, so we were what the only way to explain it, because I mean you heard our intro song, and if you listen to the episode when it's done, you'll hear our an exit song, which is another song we wrote. But we were that stadium rock and roll. We could fill a space regardless of where we were because
Right.
it was that melodic. The melodies were good enough. The song structures were good enough. We rehearsed and rehearsed and rehearsed and then played shows. So
We were heavy
The-
enough that we got to open up for Sacred Reich, but we
Right.
weren't so heavy that we also got to
Who'd you
open up
Who'd you open up for?
Sacred
Sacred Reich.
Reich
Really?
many times.
Wow.
Their rhythm
Yeah.
guitar player was our sound man.
yeah, she
You
loved
guys
us.
are big time. You guys
We
really
were.
are big time.
And
I
then
don't know about big time, but
No, I mean,
but
no,
then
you
we
guys-
were also melodic enough that we got to
Enough.
open up for the Marshall Tucker band. Think
Right.
about the dichotomy between
I
those
saw
two
that.
bands.
I saw that. I was like, oh, because I'm thinking of Marshall Tucker. I really dug them, but so
So did
the
I.
opposite.
But at the
Yeah.
time, I hadn't been introduced to them yet. They weren't on my radar. So later in life, when I finally hear Can't You See?
Yeah.
And then Mike and I start doing this, and he's like, we start talking about in one of our, first probably origin episodes, first couple months, we start kind of giving ourselves credibility to those that are watching us, because you have to be able to be like, look, this is our resume,
Right.
and you can't just put a resume on an email because
This
people
is
gotta
why
come
we're
to
talking
to
to you about addiction and music, because we have
Right.
experience. Yeah.
right.
So then when he dropped that one day, I'm like, holy shit. And then I remembered, yeah, we just walked past by him backstage like they were just ordinary fucking people, which, they probably relished that because we weren't like, oh, we were just there to play the show.
So you didn't know what they sounded like when you came when you did.
Well, I probably heard them at some point in time growing up, but
Right.
it didn't register with me like it did 190 episodes ago when we first started talking about the bands we opened up for.
I was
because,
a huge Southern rock fan. I patterned. So, like, when Metal Blade came to us with a development deal, the first thing the guy said was, I can't put my finger on your sound.
Right.
And just like we described Dave Mustaine as chicken picking with distortion, sped up times 2,
Right. Right.
mine was Southern rock with distortion. I was just basically playing blues. What you heard me playing before the
Yeah.
show started,
Yeah.
it's
no,
a
I
bunch
hear
of blues licks
Yeah.
with maybe a little minor scale thrown in or major scale
Which
for
is
good
always cool.
measure.
Throw in a minor one. Yeah.
But really all it is if I turn the distortion off, it's just a bunch of blues licks that sound cool when you put distortion on them.
But I mean, you also get that. That's why I thought you were from the South.
Right.
More than I thought you were.
But I
south
grew
of
up, I
that
cut my
because-
teeth playing Skinnerd and Molly
Yeah.
Hatchet and Allman Brothers and
Yeah.
Marshall Tucker Band and
Yeah, and Outlaws. and-
Outlaws, another great
Oh,
example.
so many great
And see,
bands.
because of my fucking Siri keeps wanting to talk to me. Shut up, Siri.
Nobody's talking to you, Siri.
because of how what I grew up being force fed with the old school country, right? And then it blended into all the other things. You know, I'm not kidding when I say Conway Twitty to fucking Metallica. I mean, that's my genre of music.
So if you put my guitar playing with his southern drawl at the end of, he likes to draw things out at the end of his phrases.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I've run out. I used to smoke, so I've I think I've run out of oxygen at some points as I get older. But that is, it's always admirable to me if you can shape your mouth right so that you can do it. You probably just do this unconsciously.
Because I didn't know. When my first band was a garage band, Disturbed. Yes, I'm the original lead singer for Disturbed. I can claim that. And then I had a bridge band between Disturbed and Nemesis.
Wow.
That was called Andalusian Dog, which really was just four musicians kind of just hanging out, being friends.
Great
and playing
band
music.
name.
Right.
Yeah,
thank you. I came up with that as well. Came up with Disturbed as well and Nemesis. I named all the bands for some reason.
Wow.
But so when I met Mike, I didn't know how I sang, how I sounded, because you never know. As a singer, you're insecure. You know, that's like, I remember watching this thing with on a documentary about Temple of the Dog, the homage to Andrew Wood, right? And when Pearl Jam and Soundgarden got together for that album, and the bandmates in Pearl Jam, when they're interviewing them and they're watching the video for Hunger Strike, and at that point in time, it dawned on them, oh yeah, our singer's good too. Like Chris Cornell is fucking Chris Cornell.
Right.
But then they just kind of realized that, oh shit, our singer's pretty fucking good as well.
Yeah.
So, but as a singer, nobody's walking around after a show saying, wow, Chris, you're amazing. Wow, Chris, you're amazing. You don't get that. It's just like good show, right? So for a singer, you always have that thing in the back of your head that you're not as good as you think you are, because you have to have that arrogance. We've talked about it before on the show. You got to own that space. You got to be a narcissist in some level of what you do as a lead singer, because you're the front door. If you're not opening that door to the band, fuck you, you're not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
You're not. And
yeah,
I never realized that when I was playing in Nemesis. Mike will tell you all the time when we would be in arguments or debates and stuff like that, fuck this shit the fuck up, let's just go play. That's all I want to do is go play. I just wanted to go play.
Right.
Whether it was in the rehearsal, whether it was on a show, I just want to go play. Fuck everything else, just go play. So for me, I hadn't done lessons and shit yet. I hadn't really honed my craft. I was just jamming to jam because I got so much joy out of it, and the world stopped. No matter what was going on, the world just fucking stopped. I stepped into Scott's place for rehearsal. That was it. For 2 hours, nothing else fucking mattered. When we got to the gig at the show, wherever we were playing, as soon as I pulled up in the parking lot, that was it. Nothing else fucking mattered. We had pagers. We didn't have cell phones and shit. I fucking shoved my page in my bag and ignored it. I could give a fuck. I'm here to do this. This is why God put me on this planet. I'm here to perform, period. Whether you like me or not. And then, later you realize that people do like you because they keep coming back to the show and shit. But
we always said, we're just going to kick your ass.
Right. None of us ever had the aura of arrogance. We just had the aura of, we're musicians. We're in this space and time. We got 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, whatever the fuck. We're on in this space.
I never say that we said that we were good. We said we were well rehearsed.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to what we were talking about.
It's up to you to tell me if we're good or not.
Yeah.
That's in the ear of the beholder. You hear of the eye of the beholder. Music is the ear of the beholder.
Yeah.
I'm curious with you guys. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. How do you know? It's twofold. How do you know if a guy tells you you're great doesn't mean it? And how do you know when I have trouble going up to people after a show, even if I thought they were great, I feel kind of goofy going up to them and say, hey, you were great, man, even though I mean it. What do you guys, how does that dynamic work with you? I'd be curious.
I never really heard that shit because I would get off stage and I would go do what I was going to do. So I would hear people say, nice show. Hey, you guys were good, shit like that. But it just kind of, the only compliment that I ever really took and that ever really stuck with me was I had a chick when I was acting that was like, think of the greatest female actress in the world right now. She was that in our theater department. She was like that chick. Like every play that was produced, they wanted her in it. Right. I walked off stage one time and going through the backstage to makeup, and she said, you have a really good stage presence. That stopped me in my tracks because as an actor, you know what that means.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
So from that point on, from an acting standpoint, I knew, okay, I got that. So I assumed it would carry over to music, but I didn't really know because, again, I wouldn't sit around for accolades. Mike, on the other hand, would hang out, and I know he wants to say something. Mike would hang out after all the shows and shit, more so than I would because I was married with a kid. So I'd hang out for a little bit, but then I'd bounce. But Mike
do people think do they think you're a dick for like not like doing everything?
Go ahead, Mike.
Hugging people.
That's a good segue.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know.
But all you have to do is explain why he's not there.
I got a wife and kid. I never had that explanation.
I don't think I ever really gave it too much thought from the people who were in the crowd. I just tried to act like I wasn't stuck up, you know, you just say thank you. I agree with what he just said. It always would stop you dead in your tracks when it came from another band.
Yeah.
When the guys in the other band would say, hey, man, I love your sound, or how do you get that sound, or I love your singer or your drummer. When it was another musician stopping you to make sure that you understood how good you were, I always took the time to listen.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't do fist bumps back then, shake their hand.
Yeah.
You know, say, hey, man, thanks a lot. Hang out, listen to their band or whatever. You know, I always tried to pay it forward in the community because this is a conversation I had the other day too. I didn't get into music to meet chicks and to do drugs and to get drunk.
I didn't really either. Yeah.
What drew me is I went to see Rat first. No, I went to see Poison, and they were good. But when I went to see Rat the first time, they had such a spectacular stage show. I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I was already just starting to play guitar. I didn't really know what you could do with it. And then I saw it with my own eyes when I was about 15 maybe. And I'm like, that's it. That's what I want to do. They look like they were having so much fun, and the lights and the sound, and it just, that's what drew me in. So when that compliment came from somebody that had put the amount of work that we had put into it, that means something. You know, to hear you say it when you heard our song, hey, man, that sounds really good. No, that means something because you've been there, done that.
Yeah, and that one, Yep. My story was, you know what Bernadette Peters is? She's like a big Broadway star.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I know the name for sure.
Yeah.
Broadway star, and incredible voice, like renowned for incredible voice all around the world. Her husband was a friend of mine. They come to one of my shows, and afterwards she comes up to me and says, "You're a great singer." And I said, I mean, I'm a rock. I do some rock, you know, whatever. And she goes, "No, you're a great singer." That thing has kept me going for all these years because she's telling me I'm a great singer, and she's acting like she really means it. She didn't interrupt me. If she just said the first time, "You're a great singer," I'll thank you. You know, if she said it twice, that's where like that's good for me forever.
See, and the best compliments to me are the ones that you don't think they don't think they hear you, right?
Yeah.
I've had moments when with the last band I was in, we post-production in Nashville, and they didn't realize I was within earshot, and I heard them saying things which I'm not going to bring up because that's a bit cheesy, but it's like, okay, that's cool. Mike and I have done this show long enough that we've had some guests that forget to turn off their microphone, right? They'll forget to shut off their thing. So, and they'll spend 15 minutes just showering us with accolades without us realizing it. So we know we're doing something right, which is why I share that. It's not, oh, look at us, because we're not like that. Like legit, the reason I didn't really hang around after the show is because I'm that guy that, again, I was married with a daughter. If Nikki was at the show, we had a sitter, so I had to get home, right? I would help unload and load and all that kind of shit, but then I would typically bounce. I didn't, this is going to sound so fucked up, but I didn't do what I did. I didn't join a band to be praised.
Right. Right.
I joined a band because
and he means that. I'm going to defend him here. He means that. Some people say, "Oh yeah, whatever." Doing this show is the same thing. Like he has no idea how many numbers we get. He has no idea. I tell him all that stuff. So when you hear him say things like we're in 85 countries or 90 countries, it's because I told him that, not because he cares. He likes doing this. This is what he cares about.
Right. Right.
And that's Fortunately, you're damn good at it.
Thank you.
I was the guy who would stay after and talk to all the people, and that was my gig, man. I wasn't married. I didn't even have a girlfriend at the time, so music was my mistress, so to speak. And the nightlife is where I wanted to be. You know, I was barely 21 years old when we started playing.
That was, I mean, it wasn't the reason I got into it, but boy, was that a good time.
Oh,
but see, and that goes back too to why I didn't write songs about getting laid, getting stoned, partying, because that wasn't what my life was. Everything I wrote the song. Do we close this when the show ends? It's Listen to Your Sin, right?
Correct.
Okay, so Listen to Your Sin is about an acid trip, but I've never done acid, Greg.
I didn't know that for 30 some years.
Okay.
This podcast taught me that.
Good for you. I'll say that. Good for you.
Right. But because I went to school to be a writer, I had a really amazing English teacher who was, I forget what the class was called. His name was Sol Khalsa. He was a Sikh, so he had the turban on his head. But he taught me how to descriptive write.
Right.
So in learning how to be a descriptive writer, that opened up my lyrical ability like you wouldn't believe, because it wasn't just, Johnny was a schoolboy, line, whatever kind of, it opened it up to where I could describe shit. So the more I learned from this teacher, professor, whatever, my grades would improve because I got more and more descriptive writing out of it. I think it was a descriptive writing class, but that completely took the trajectory of my lyric writing to a whole nother level. So even though I never dropped acid, I could put myself in the position. I was watching a movie or something or a TV show, and somebody was tripping. I'm like, and so the lyrics just flowed because that's how they would just do with me.
Yeah.
And so it just created. But that's why I loved music so much, because it was the acting part. No matter how my day was, if my day was fucking terrible, it didn't matter. I walked on stage. I was the Iron Dog. That was my stage performance. My stage, not performance, my stage ego.
Persona, right?
Persona, yeah. So it was acting, it was writing, and it was singing. Right. And everything came to the whole world collided for me right there. And that was my joy. That's where I wanted to be. That was my sweet spot in life.
And that's interesting you mentioned that. I had done a song called Junkie Eyes about junkies, and that's one thing I didn't do was heroin. But, and what pisses me off, I shouldn't take negative. What surprises me is that, and this is very, very modern, people always insist on identifying you as the first person in the song. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, is that a first-person song, though, the acid one?
No,
because you never did it.
I never did it. I never dropped acid. No,
but I'm saying first person in the sense that you.
Yeah, the way it was written, it came across.
You're refraining from the guy tripping perspective.
Oh yeah, right. Oh yeah. That's why it blew Mike away when he realized I never dropped acid.
Well, that's
because he has. It's like it's fucking on point.
Yeah,
but the lyrics were so on point that I just told my mom this story because we watched a concert. My very first concert in Arizona was with a different incarnation of this band.
Right.
But that song was in that show. And I told her the changes that I made were because of the lyrics that he wrote. It ended up being the first composition that I ever wrote. The first song that you heard, Free Man, that's as close to AC/DC as you're ever going to get. I wanted a song to open the show that wasn't hard to play, but blew people away. Right. How do you do that? Use 3 chords. So it's E, G, and A. That's it. I think there's a D in there. There's 4 chords in the whole song.
Well, how many great songs. Yeah.
Listen to Your Sin required a story. Mm-hmm. And I knew it, right? Free Man's a story too, but it's a different kind of storytelling.
Right.
Listen to Your Sin, it was drawn out. It needed to be told in sections. So there's like 3 independent sections to that song. And you can hear why when you listen to the lyrics, because the story evolves as it goes along.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's one thing that makes me nervous is I really don't like to, I mean, some of the songs come from my experiences, but almost always I'm changing them to something else. And I write a lot in first person and people are thinking you're that guy. And it's one thing if it's like, oh, that's just, they can think whatever they want, but when they hold it against you because you're writing about a character who's not a good guy.
That's the word right there, Greg. Right. You have to describe it as it's a first person, but it's written from the first person of this character.
Yeah. Right. It bugs me that people don't always get that. And especially today, I mean, with the sensitivities, oh, you're a bad, I mean, I first heard this when Geraldo, I've known Geraldo a little bit over the years. He's a good guy. But I remember he had a show, and it was on Guns N' Roses, and I guess they did some song that was supposed to be real racist or whatever. And he was just equating them with the guy, or take a Randy Newman, if you know him. I mean, this guy will write songs from the Klan's perspective.
Yeah.
How would he get away with it today? Everybody would say like, oh, that's unacceptable. So that kind of shit bothers me.
Right. But see, that goes back to my statement earlier where music to me was acting, writing, and singing. So every song that I wrote, as I sang them, I became that person on stage.
Exactly.
So you know what I mean? So like our set started out with 3 songs nonstop, back to back to back.
Yeah.
So by the time we were done, the crowd was either out the door, fuck these guys, or sitting there with their hair blown, like, holy shit, this is not who I thought I was coming to see.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it was, holy shit, this is not what I thought I was coming to see. And then they kept coming back and kept coming back. So we started playing bigger and bigger venues, and you know what I mean? But that was the thing. So it was the character. And I'm that guy that I was pissed off when David Draymond talked about Down with the Sickness, how his mother really didn't abuse him. Fuck you, dude. You just crushed millions of fans who related to you specifically because of that part in the song where your mother's beating your ass.
Yep.
I related to him because that's how I grew up. So I was never the guy that would tell you what my song was about. I would introduce him. Listen to your sin. I would say, tomorrow doesn't understand. Yesterday will never be again. I want you to take a moment and listen to your sin. And then Mike would hit the fucking good. I just got chills. Mike would hit the guitar chord and and there it went, man.
I heard the intro in my head.
Yeah. So I would inject my little lyrical lines, my poetry in between songs and shit because I wanted to be a writer, which is why Morrison was such an appeal to me as an artist and a frontman. So was Bono and so was Vedder, because these 3 people, they knew how to captivate a crowd. They knew how to write. They knew how to intertwine melodies. They knew how to use their voice and their creativity to fill those spaces in time, because you have so much dead space between songs. You know what I mean? If you don't get applause, you have to fill that space with something, you know, and if you just get a little applause, you still have to fill the space with something. If you get a roar of applause, once the applause is gone, you have to fill the space with something because you have to get the next song underway. So I learned how to interweave my little nonsense shit. Like I would say stuff like the middle word in life is if.
So you would so in other words, it's because I've gotten to the point where I'm so many times I have to do acoustic stuff, and then I have to say something about some of the songs, and I'm always, you know, I hate to rehearse shit like that. I like to come off the cuff.
I never rehearsed it. I never rehearsed.
I wrote about.
That's what made it brilliant. He didn't rehearse it.
I didn't rehearse it. I was
practice,
so well.
We would know how much space there was going to be there roughly. And Chris would literally have the microphone in his hand. He'd be walking around while we were not playing. We're talking. The next song hasn't started yet. And he wasn't like going, I'm going to say this. It was, he would just mimic that amount of space. And when those moments would happen on stage, the thing that made them brilliant was they were completely off the cuff.
Off the cuff.
We never knew what he was going to say.
Yeah. And you hear some of these bands that like you think, oh, they're saying something with a great amount of pith in it, and then you realize that if you see them again, they said the same exact thing at the same exact time.
The only line that was always repeated was what I just did about if tomorrow doesn't understand yesterday.
But I always equated that as being part of the song.
Right.
Yeah.
And that
if we recorded that now, that would be the intro to the song.
Yeah, because that was a poem I wrote. Tomorrow doesn't understand. Yesterday will never be again, so take a moment and listen to your sin. That was a poem that I wrote, which from that poem I think evolved a song. Because I was like, oh.
Is it like that on the album?
No, we never got to record
that
one.
Really?
What you're going to hear at the end of the podcast is a demo that we recorded in my apartment on an 8-track Tascam reel-to-reel player.
Why do you call it a demo? Because I'm curious, because I used to do demos.
Because I know how it's supposed to sound in the end in my head. I was also the recording engineer and the producer for all this stuff.
Right.
Chris and I I credit him with having the idea for the bullhorn before Stone Temple Pilots did it. Because in Freeman, there's supposed to be a guy singing into a bullhorn in the middle of some of those. Like we were going to blend those voices together.
Yeah, I actually bought a little tiny megaphone, and I would go on stage, and the mic would be like this, and I'd have the megaphone. I'd be far away from the megaphone.
He did that before a while and never thought of it.
Just to have the sound.
Well, I can't imagine that you guys aren't going to like croak without having done that album, though, are you? I mean,
well, that's kind of how this whole thing started, because I would write him lyrics. like, I need music for this, need music. Because Mike, I mean, you've watched the show, so you've probably heard us talk about the fact that I could give him a sheet of lyrics, and the next day he'd come back and he would immediately be able to capture what I was writing. Mm-hmm. So the whole concept behind this was to do this thing, but then go to where we re-record all that stuff in today's world. The only difference is that, you know, vocally it's not going to sound the same because I can't sing the way I sang back then because I just can't. I'm 56 years old. Back then I was what, 23. There's a difference, right? We reconnected with our bass player, William Richard Carr the fourth. Hello, William. And I thought forever he was pissed off at me for leaving the band, and he was pissed off at me for a while, but now he's over it. But so that's the kind of thing. The whole concept of this was I wanted to lay down music because it was the Nemesis was the one band I wish I never left. It's the one thing in my entire life. If I had to pick one item that I don't want to say regret because my life is my life, but if I could make it different, I would have been I just need a break. I need 6 months, you know, but I didn't. So we did what we did because in every fiber of my being, we would have been something. I don't know what we would have been or would become, but we were what the world saw in Creed before Creed was discovered. And it was about the same time they were getting they were planting their roots. We were planting our roots. Yeah. So I think because there's so much attention on Tippy Jingle Jangle sound and the Metal Blade Records came knocking, that would have taken us to a whole new world because the concept behind that was they were going to follow us and do this Midwest tour of us playing live shows. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mike. I think I remember this right. And then he was going to take all those live recordings to all the labels. So we were bypassing the security, the secretary. We weren't unsolicited because he was a guy. I'm going to take this to ENI Records, Empire, whatever the fuck, EMI. Sony Records, right? EMI. This is what I can do live with a band. So that was going to get us past the front door of dozens and dozens of labels, right? Which then would have, in turn, we would have gotten signed.
They were sending us out with the guy that had just got done doing not the Empire, the Promised Land. Queensryche. He was going to be our live front of house sound engineer. He lived in Paradise Valley. Yeah. Scott and I went to his show, or not to his show. We went to his house in Paradise Valley. He was building a studio there. That's where we were going to record the album. Yeah, this was all set in stone, man.
Yeah, he came to a show for some random reason, but
he was there to see somebody else.
Right. It's kind of like how Candlebox had discovered Maverick Sour Records, which was Madonna's label at the time. The A&R rep was out about somewhere and his fucking car broke down, flat tire, so he had to walk back in the rain to this dive bar he saw. It was Candlebox's second set. He just happened to sit down and watch their set. That was it.
Candlebox played less than 25 live shows before they signed to Maverick.
Right, because it's just right place, right time. So that's the thing. It's not a regret because life is life. I love my life, but if I could change something, that would be the one thing I would tweak because I truly believe we would have gone somewhere. And it just, no idea where we would have went, but we would have went somewhere because of what we were doing and because of who was behind it.
Our work ethic was outstanding.
Yeah. I mean, definitely like the screenwriting when I've gotten things that were optioned and then it didn't happen for some stupid reason. And the thing is, you guys have still got 10 years on me. When you get to this stage, you don't give a shit anymore. It just doesn't matter. So if you guys got an album or 6 albums in you, you're fucking cracking because you owe it to yourselves.
Agreed.
And I was going to also ask you, what about, you said you can't sing like you did 20 years ago because I've been dealing with the range issue. This song I sang years ago, I feel like my range.
Professionally, because I can say that professionally, I haven't sung since 2010. I stopped. When that last band we did Road to Sturgis tour in 2008, and by 2010 I was so tired of just the drama and the bullshit. We lost the drummer because the guitarist just thought he was somebody he's not, and just the ego, and it stopped being fun. So I'm leaving. I'm out, and I've not missed it because I did what I wanted to do. I'm on iTunes, which is pretty cool. I'm not on iTunes with the band I'd love to be on iTunes with, which is the guy sitting next to us over here.
We'll get there.
Because that to me, Nemesis to me is the legacy I want as a singer and a songwriter.
Right.
What I did in the last band I was in, and there's, I never really mentioned the name because I don't, even though I named him. And then he fucked with the name because he's an asshat. It was a great experience to go to Nashville and record. Like we were in Dolly Parton's studio, right? Our producer was Tony Migliore, who was a piano player for I don't remember the band. It's Bye Bye Miss American Pie. That guy, whoever.
Don
McLean. There you go. So he was Don's piano player, who was attached to Robert Metzger in Nashville, who was attached to Elvis on some ways and all that kind of jazz. So we ripped 12 songs in 12 hours at Gravity Studios, and then we came back a month or so later and went to George Strait and Alan Jackson's studio in Brentwood, Tennessee, and ripped off the other 8 songs. But I much would have rather had that experience with Mike. Like when I left that band, I came back to Mike, and Mike unfortunately was in a downtrodden state of mind. But I brought that bass player with me. I mean, we're 45 minutes away from each other when he lived in Glendale and I lived in the East Valley. So, but that's how much I kept coming back to Mike. Like we just kept coming back in each other's lives. It just, the timing was never as perfect as it was in Nemesis.
We just had somebody we just had somebody say, I hope you understand what kind of chemistry you have.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you for the compliment, but we're hyper aware of that. He just described it. It's not something we ever talk about. It just happens. You know, it's like it's almost like both of our brains say too much time has passed and we got to do something, you know?
I agree. I mean, obviously the chemistry works here, but
we're 2 hours into this shit. Does it feel like it, Greg?
No. You're talking to the wrong guy. Talk music, talk that. I could talk about that forever. I'm enjoying.
But I think the most important part of this whole moment in time that we're talking about is that chemistry has to be there, and that's what he just described. Yeah. If you sat in one of our practices, what he described as arguments or debates, they were what is best for the song, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it would get to be too much, and he would simply say, just fucking play the song, man. You know, like, do we got to start here? Can we just start at the beginning? Well, and yeah, we could do that.
That's the tough part. And again, comes back to perfect being the enemy of the good. Or also, you know, you go in like this album, the music I've done with Jim Mastro, I came in with a vision each time, and some of it wound up being very close to my vision on some songs. Others he took in a direction I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Hey, it may not have been what I was originally thinking, but I yielded to it because I thought it was sounding great. So it's sort of like you have to have that balance between sticking to your guns and being open to other ideas with that. And sounds like that's what you guys had going.
That's the hardest part about being in a band. And Chris will attest to this because he sat on both sides of the fence, and so have I. When you're in a band where it's constant adversary over who writes what and who gets to say what, and fuck all that, right? Go be a solo artist. Get your attitude out of here.
Did you like what they wrote? Or that's the whole key.
Well,
if you don't like it, then you got a problem.
Right. See, that was a nice thing about us. Nothing I wrote they didn't like. The only time there was ever a debate over a lyric was in one of our songs where I said "God damn."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jesus Christ, yeah. Oh, yeah, nothing, man. I don't believe in Jesus Christ. I had a line saying, I don't believe in Jesus Christ because I'm nothing, man. I'm nothing. I don't believe in I don't believe in social praise. I don't believe, well, I can't start there, but there was a line, there was a lyric that said, and I don't believe in Jesus Christ. I don't believe in the afterlife. I don't believe of the coming man, you know. That pissed Scott off. So Mike, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know about this till podcast.
I was always the great moderator.
Right. So Mike had to kind of sit him down and explain to him, you got to understand, it's not that Chris doesn't believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in Jesus Christ.
Right.
Oddly enough, I'm the one that doesn't.
The character wasn't.
But the nothing man didn't believe in Jesus Christ. The nothing man didn't believe in anything because he's nothing man. So that was the difference. So once Mike explained that to Scott, then Scott backed off of that because he understood it was appropriate for the song. It's kind of like how Creed, this is what I equate this to. Creed has the song "What If." Scott Stapp went in and had that whole song. They remastered the song when they remastered it. They took away "Goddamn." What's this lie for? Whatever he says. Don't want to settle no goddamn score.
Yep.
He took that "goddamn" away. Okay. I respect that because he wrote the song, But to me, you took a piece of that song away because you captured that moment in time. Because at the moment in time when he wrote that first album,
that's how he
was at wit's end with his father, who was fucking wearing the big old fucking Episcopalian cross, Bible thumping. I'm knocking on your fucking door. You're gonna listen to what I have to say. You're going to hell. That kind of Bible thumping religion is what Stapp's from.
Yeah.
So when Stapp took that piece of the song out, when they remastered it, I was like, fuck, man, because it captured a moment of angst and anger and frustration for him in that moment in time. Just because he said goddamn in that song doesn't mean he's going to hell. But in his mind, because he went back to that, because he had his bout with addiction and shit, and he went down that dark path, I think in his mind he had to rectify that and take that away because he doesn't want that to be a living example of who he is now. Respect that. I respect that.
But it's just another form of addiction because now you've bought into somebody else's line of thinking. And it's people freak out when I say I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe that Jesus was the Messiah, and neither do any of the Jewish people that live on the planet.
Right.
So don't,
including my significant other.
Don't freak out.
Right. But what you said earlier when I had to step away, you referenced you find grace when you're playing guitar.
Yes.
That's
the thing. I love that.
That's
that line,
why
by
I
the way.
say I don't believe in religion. I don't believe in. There's 50 organized religions, right? Who's right? I don't have time to figure that out, and I don't think any of them are right. So that's where I'm at.
Right.
It's not pertinent to the. Yeah.
No,
you're still. It goes back to what I was saying about characters singing the song.
Yeah.
It wasn't him saying "God damn it, baby."
That was what I explained to Scott, and I was that mature at apparently 22 years old because it took talking him down off the ledge. I said
because he was really pissed.
Oh yeah.
Which I didn't know he was pissed.
The guy's a poet, man. I said people that are poets don't always write things from the first person. They might be writing them from the first person of another character.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. Or you're so limited.
Chris gets to be whoever he wants in his mind. That's his freedom. Yeah. When he sits down with a piece of paper that's blank and a pen, he gets to be whoever he wants at that moment in time.
Right. And that goes back to what I said earlier. That's part of the acting, because every song, just from the title of the song, I knew who I had to be at that moment in time on stage delivering that performance. Listen to Your Sins character is different than Nothing Man's character. Right. Listen to Your Sins, trip you soulfully. I'm taking you down this path, this journey of I'm tripping on acid. Nothing Man's like, fuck you. I don't believe in a damn thing. There's nothing you can tell me that's going to change my mind. This is who I am. I'm absolutely fucking nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
And the music follows suit because Listen to Your Sin is it's like a river that's winding down, and it's almost like, I hate to compare it to Kashmir, but they always describe Kashmir as a song that goes nowhere, right?
Right.
It really just keeps going. It's the same thing over and over and over again. That's kind of how Listen to Your Sin is, but you don't realize it because of the way that Chris is singing. You really think something's happening musically that's not really there. Once again, it's only 3 chords. But it's got this cool little lick that happens in the middle of, I think it's in B flat, but there's a lick that happens before that. And then that B flat becomes C, becomes D. It just follows a natural pattern, right?
Right.
You don't realize it's doing that natural pattern over and over again because of the way he's singing. He described it very well. It's very free flowing and sing songy. Nothing Man is. The song is F sharp, A, B. It's very in your face, just like AC/DC. It's just a hard driving. The drums are going on, the hi-hat's going double time.
Right.
And he's literally just spitting the lyrics at you in your face.
So nothing better than having that kind of front, man.
The dichotomy of the different kinds of sounds that I could paint with his ability to tell a story was what gravitated to. I'm like, I heard the power in his voice. And then when like he said, when he showed up with those lyrics and I started reading the lyrics, I was like, same thing that they had when he was describing Temple of the Dog. I was like, holy shit, this guy's deep, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a synergy that, I mean, I've had that with one guy I worked with for years, but the problem is he wasn't a play out kind of guy, and that got to be a problem. I've written all these songs with him, and that's quite sort of out of my frustration with that. That's when I started writing myself, because the past he would have a chord progression, I'd lay a melody and the lyrics over it. I realized I have to come up with my own music to do it just out of necessity, like you were talking before. But it is great because we did have that. I still like one of the songs on the album. I something we co-wrote because they still lasted because our synergy on doing that was fantastic. So
there's something about writing a song yourself that's rewarding, but in my opinion, and this is probably just because that's the way I've always written songs, there's something that happens to the song when he gets a hold of it, right?
Right.
It becomes something different, but it's always better.
Yeah,
I heard everything you said. Thank you very much. I'm very humbled.
What did I say?
I mean, it wouldn't have worked out if you were writing with one of the other guys in the band. It probably wouldn't have worked out. You know, that's the thing. They may be great as what they do, and it's also like I can't understand the stuff about like how many songs get on in terms of like playing live or an album. Like, why if the other guy writes great songs and you have a part in it, it's like why not have that up there too? But if you're the guy who really has that skill set and the other guy doesn't realize he just can't write songs, that's where it's a problem.
Well, see, and the coolest thing about Nemesis, I mean, I wrote the lyrics, but we wrote the songs. I never.
Right.
If we had got to the point where with Metal Blades, if we released the album and all that kind of shit, it wouldn't have said lyrics by. It would have said songs, lyrics, music, whatever. However we would have done it, it would have been by Nemesis. All of our names would have been named.
We were a 25% partnership.
Yeah, we weren't ever. I was because again, it sounds weird to say. I was never look at me. I'm the singer. I was a singer by accident because I tried to play guitar. I couldn't stick with it. Right. I tried to play drums. I couldn't stick with it. So again, going back to what we talked about, it started with being a writer, and then I went into theater, and then I went into acting, and then I went to music. It all became one. I could do everything with music.
That was literally the only thing we ever talked about is this is either a band or it's not. We're either a 25% partnership or we're not. And I learned that through Led Zeppelin. One of the greatest bands that ever walked the earth was a 25% partnership. Yeah. Because of what Chris just described. Jimmy Page might have been able to play the drums. He couldn't play them like John Bonham.
No.
He might have been able to play the bass. He probably does. He can't play it like John Paul Jones. And when I heard him describe that, he was like, Led Zeppelin was a sound I heard in my head that required the other three members to make it happen.
So he wouldn't necessarily sing out the parts or play out the parts of John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones came in with what he came in with.
Come to find out, John Paul Jones wrote more of Jimmy Page's guitar riffs than you realize. Yeah, John Paul Jones says in his book, the songs that you hear that have like Black Dog, those kind of songs are all John Paul Jones. He brought those to Led Zeppelin, and Jimmy Page learned them from him. The songs that are big open chords, like the song Remains the Same, that's Jimmy Page.
Yeah, that's so Jimmy Page. It's interesting because now I kind of understand, because you were saying, why would the guy care about you having a curse in there, God? But then he goes on and board he's one of the writers. So that's what he was worried about, I guess. Yes. Because if it wasn't his song, why would he mind? But since I guess that's what he figured, people are going to think I came up with that, and my father is,
that's how much we put into, like Chris just described it perfect. We wrote the songs together. Right. I might have come up with the riff, but when we're talking about who wrote the song, the band wrote the song. We all agreed on the final product.
Yep.
So the songs came,
Go ahead.
Came out of rehearsals, and then would you write the lyrics on the spot, or would you write it sometimes?
It would depend. When I joined the band, they had music set for a certain amount of songs, and they would play them. Probably our first rehearsal, they would play one song, and then I would dig through my lyrics to find something that fit. And then when I found something that fit, I'm like, that's it. That's the song. There's other times where I'd come into practice, Mike would be playing a riff, because Mike would always get the riff for me, even though I live 5 minutes away. He lived an hour. But he'd be in there with Scott, usually fucking around with something. I'd walk in, and the first time I did that, they stopped. And then afterwards, I'm like, don't ever stop when I walk in the room if you're playing something new. Because a lot of times that would spark a song. Vision, they were playing a song that was what's Vision now for me, but it was a different song for them. But I had these recurring dreams, and I wrote Vision based on the riff that I heard that day when I walked in, and then I just put it all together and it fit. And then we changed things around, obviously, because I would be like, hey, like you said earlier, you got to do the wada 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 here more, carry that out longer, or make this shorter, is make this kind of do that. And it was weird language for me because, you know, I don't know theory. I don't know how to read music and shit.
Talking about all the guys participating, that's when Scott would step in, because obviously being a musician, you know, nobody's a better arranger than a drummer.
Right.
Yeah, true.
They know how to put pieces together.
It's it's interesting because I was never capable of writing lyrics on the spot. I mean, I do sounds on the spot, but the lyrics is the one thing would take me a long time to come up with. Music I could come up with pretty easily. Lyrics, and that's that's again, you came from a journalism school, so I'm presuming again. And it's funny because you mentioned earlier what bands turned you on because of what the words were. Yeah. I never gave a shit about the words growing up. It wasn't like I was just paying attention to music. But when I write the shit, the lyrics are the most important thing. Because, again, some of it has to do with humiliation. Because if you write shitty lyrics and you sound like a jerk off, then that kills everything. And
you just described my musical upbringing to a T. I never gave two shits about lyrics until I met this guy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, words matter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And especially, I mean, obviously if you listen to Bob Dylan, words matter, but
it was knowing him though, I guess I'm really overlooking the point. It was knowing him as a human being and how much his lyrics meant to him is what made the lyrics mean something to me. All of a sudden then, like you just described, not only do you not want shitty lyrics on top of great music, you don't want great lyrics, which he wrote, to be subdued by some shitty music. So then I took it as a personal challenge to make sure that the music was what he expected to hear.
Right.
Yeah.
My challenge was always to blow him away. I wanted to see a certain look on his face.
Yeah. And he did.
You guys have an unusual synergy because God knows, I mean, for guys that aren't like putting out 7 albums in a row, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you had it back then, but you guys still clearly have that kind of synergy. So do it what you can.
It's not having, it's being like he said, you have to have a certain ego to get up there and do it. But then it's being able to subdue that ego when you get off stage.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was like Eddie Van Halen, man. I heard my heroes say all these things. Eddie said, you have 7 notes, how you mix them up is your business. And I never wanted to be the greatest guitar player, or I would have tried harder. I wanted to write great songs, and I wanted them to sound good. So I'm like, if that's good enough for Eddie Van Halen, then maybe that's what I should concentrate on, right? I want to write great songs.
Yeah, I just want to jam. It's just like this show. I do the guests and shit, as you know, because that's me you're talking to. Right. Mike does the editing and shit. But I just want to jam, man.
Yeah, this is the fun
all I ever
part.
wanted to do.
Yeah, and that's
all I ever wanted to do.
Nothing beats the instinctual. I'm a little more. I'm instinctual at first, and some of the best shit I've wrote is instinctual. Others I have to approach as a craft because I'm writing solo, so I mean I'm the only person that's judging me is me.
Yeah,
but that's the most important thing is you don't give a shit about selling things or whatever. You only love what you're doing so much you can't live without hearing it.
Right. I'm gonna tell you something though. Don't overjudge yourself. Just go with it. There's nothing that he and I ever worked on. The original form, the original lyrics, the original music itself that was originally from day one of when that song was created, it never really changed. The structure may have changed. Right. How I delivered words and how I would start improvising when we played live would change.
Right.
But the foundation musically, the foundation lyrically, the foundation melodically stayed the same because we never questioned it. We never looked at that something and said, oh, this is wrong, because it's kind of like writing a song. I won't write a song to write a song. Like if you told me to write a song right now, I'm like, fuck you. I'm not writing a song right now.
Right.
Because I'm not in that mindset.
Right.
Now, if I get a lyric in my head and I write, 4 lines in because I write everything in ballad format because that's how I was taught in high school. Mm-hmm. If I write 4 lines and then the muse stops, I don't keep writing.
Yeah, me neither.
I walk away. I just because then it's forced. And I told Mike this before when we were in Nemesis, which to me was the height of my creativity writing. I was listening. This is gonna blow your mind. I was listening to Goo Goo Dolls, Counting Crows, and Pearl Jam.
He was. Right.
The most of the stuff I wrote in Nemesis was listening to Counting Crows and Goo Goo Dolls. For whatever reason, it was Dizzy Up the Girl, and it was August and Everything After.
Right.
For whatever reason, those 2 bands, those 2 albums, just opened up the floodgates of my creativity when it came to writing lyrics.
And I was probably listening to Metallica and the Black Crowes.
That's the thing, man. That's the craziness.
And so was Scott. Scott was listening to a lot of Black Crowes and Metallica.
Right. And but then you got Freeman out of that shit. You got the song we both loved immensely called Intervention Divine, which is this epically long poet that I pulled lyrics and words from this play I was in. And I don't like 9 minutes long. The thing was fucking roller coaster ride of heavy metal, just in your face shit. But I was listening to two of the most pop rock bands commercially successful at the time.
Right.
But you wouldn't think that.
So he's listening to that.
Right.
And then my drummer and I take that set of lyrics, and our objective was to put the most dynamics ever heard in one song. Right. So the song starts out as soft and mellow as the drums is as low as the music can get is how that song starts, and it builds to a crescendo, tempo's increasing, just like Stairway to Heaven. This was my idea, was to create my own Stairway to Heaven, right?
And I wanted to create my own Estranged.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny
too.
It's funny because you do hear, because you're talking about listening to stuff that was different. I mean, how many times do you see like some guy who's like a heavy metal player and their favorite, guitar player was Carl Wilson from the Beach Boys? It's like, it doesn't add up on the sound, but it's there,
I'll write riffs that'll melt your face off, but most of the time you hear me playing or listening to music, you just describe my eclectic taste. I'll be listening to like the Tragically Hip from Canada because they're great songwriters.
Right.
A lot of pop music. I blow people away with the amount of pop music that I listen to and know about.
Yeah.
It's because I didn't want all my ideas to sound the same. Chris just described in this 2 hours our start to finish. We started at Freeman, which was 3 chords and as simple as you could get, because I wanted to start the show out simple. I wanted to start my career out simple, right? Don't fuck this up.
Right.
So let's not get too complicated. We ended, the last song that we ever wrote together was Intervention Divine, which is over 9 minutes long, probably approaching 10 or 11.
Right.
And it's this dynamic masterpiece of all these pieces that took months to put together.
Yeah.
And what sucks is that it'll never be able to be replicated because Scott, our drummer, who unfortunately took his own life, was such an intricate part of how that song's dynamic was from start to finish. It's one of those things that we captured it. We played it live. When we played that live, people were just like, fuck me, man. Because Mike explains it like, I call it a roller coaster. So we're kind of going up the ramp, right? Before you go down the cliff. We're slowly going. When we get to the first drop, I step up to the microphone and I had this badass mic stand, dude, that it's hard to explain, but I had a mic stand before anybody had mic stands, like fuck you, Korn. And I mean, I had this thing that was intertwined Raven's claw from the ground. My arm was resin into
so
it. My hand was holding the microphone. Like it was perfectly fit to my height, everything. The bridge band between Disturbed and Nemesis, he was an art major at ASU and he built this thing for a project and gave it to me. And then the last band I was in, we were going to Sturgis and dumb fuck guitars threw something into the trailer and broke it. Like fucking piece of shit. So anyway, we get to the top of the first hill of the roller coaster, and I step up to the mic and just, as like vocal fry sounding as I could be, I deliver the line, display your face from Galleries Hall. And it was just, literally it was like, display your face from Galleries Hall. And just fucking the darkness just fucking took over. And just lyrically, the thing was insane because it was an epic poet. It was like Walt Whitman got stoned and grabbed these words from these plays and I wasn't really a stoner, but it created this whole fucking adventure lyrically.
When Pantera drags the groove down and you want it to go faster, but you don't want it to go faster because that's the whole reason they drug the groove down. That's the verse part of that song. It's as restrained and pulled back as you can get without becoming ridiculous.
But you'll never do it again because the guy drummer brought so much.
We could try, but in Chris and I's mind, it would never sound like it. Scott was, once again, I hate to compare people because all of a sudden people are like, yeah, your guy was John Bonham. but he was as close to John Bonham as I've ever played with
Wow.
because he understood dynamics like no drummer I had ever played with. He understood that you have to hit things softer and harder, right? A lot of drummers don't understand that.
No,
dynamics are everything.
Scott was actually such a listening drummer that we would tell him, especially myself, to hit the drums harder, and he would start laughing. He's like, no one ever told me to hit them harder before.
Right.
Wow.
Because he was so concerned about not overplaying the song.
All right. But see, and that goes back to the cool dynamic, because there were songs that I would follow Scott with.
Yeah.
Right.
There was, when we got our bass player, there's songs that I would follow the bass with.
Right.
There were songs I'd follow Mike with. Everything started with Mike, Scott, and I. There was no bass player.
Right.
So when you brought the bass player in, that kind of changed some dynamics of things. But some of the stuff that Scott did,
it changed the way he played drums because he started out writing songs with a guitar player, not a bass player.
Right.
Okay.
And then you have a lyricist who understands how to create melodies and shit. Then it really was lightning in a bottle. It's just unfortunate where it went, but it is what it is. So I gotta go, and it's 1:00. So
yes,
I hate to wrap this up. You got to come back on the show, Greg, because really, I don't remember the last time Mike and I had a 2.5-hour conversation that seems like 20 minutes.
That was that smooth.
Yeah, that was fun just to talk this stuff.
Yeah,
Great.
I've had a blast.
So
yeah, let's get you back on the show. When we sign off, I'll look at the calendar. We'll lock you in. So boys and girls, if you're feeling suicidal, depressed, don't do it. Go scream in a pillow, go for a run and go work out, go find somebody to talk to, go journal, go do something to change your mindset. If you take your life and you leave a hole in somebody else's heart, and tomorrow's not going to be a better day for anyone because of that. So if you can't find someone to talk to, text 988. Somebody's standing by to help you get through the turmoil you're going through. Don't be that person. Don't leave the hole in somebody else's heart. It happens too frequently, happens too often, and the devastation, you don't know because you've left the world prematurely. So please text 988. For the Chris and Mike show, I'm Chris, he's Mike. This is Greg Amici. Really, dude, I don't remember the last time we had a 2.5-hour conversation with somebody.
Been a while.
That seems like 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. It's a blast.
So you're coming back on the show. You have to promise
Absolutely.
us that. We'll continue the conversation, especially, go Giants, open up against the Cowboys at home.
Yeah. I don't know. It's at home this year?
It's at home. We have four primetime games, which is,
I heard that. But they always seem to start out in Dallas.
We're starting at home with Dallas. You want to talk about a debut for Harbaugh? Fucking, what is it? I forget what the phrase is. Shut up or step up or whatever the fuck it is.
Put up or shut up.
There you go. Put up or shut up. There you go.
I just hope that DB from Dallas doesn't wind up picking off Jason.
Three
times.
That would fucking suck.
That would suck.
All right, boys and girls. Until next time. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks again,
Excellent,
Greg.
fellas. Take care.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
Don't leave yet, Greg.
The